All right, we should be good to go. I just will need to check our levels when the YouTube catches up, and then hopefully we can get everything going. Be good to go. I just will need to check our levels when the YouTube catches up. Okay, and then hopefully we can get everything going. Good to go. I just will need to check our. Should be good now. Let's hope that this all works out. I think I can hear everyone. I think we are good. Hopefully, if there's any problems, someone in chat will let us know. So, to start off, I would just like to say welcome to the Theory No Me podcast, the most dangerous podcast because it can lead to One Piece madness. I'm your host, Nerdtaku, and it is a pleasure to introduce one of the inspirations for me doing content creation. This is Larry, Ayo Larry, from That One Piece Talk, and they are incredible. If you have not checked them out, please do. All of their links are in the description of this video, as well as their Discord, which is amazing. I'm in there all the time talking. So if you ever need to see me talking shit, that's where I do it live. So, but I just want to go over the fact that they are an amazing podcast with almost 29K followers on TikTok. And their YouTube is so close, and I mean so close, to 5K subs. So hopefully they will get there so fast, and I'm sure that they will. And then not only that, but he also has his own YouTube channel, Ayo Larry, with just over 700 subs, and he's only dropped 2 videos with a third one soon coming out as far as theories go. So that is pretty incredible to get that many subs with just that little content. And he also raps, ladies and gentlemen. So I would just like to say it is all good, even the rap. So
thank you.
I don't know if I missed anything.
Nah, I think you pretty much hit everything. Hello to everybody that's just viewing Nerdtaku's newest episode of Theory No Me. I am honored to be here, Taku. You know, I've always been a fan of you. Also, you made me a fan of the very impressive young lady under me. So thank you for connecting us, and this is going to be a banger.
Of course. And then that follows right in to the Chestnut Tanuki, who was with me on my first ever episode of this, and we went and spent 2 hours just going crazy and talking about theories, and it was so much fun. I had to have her back, and to bring Larry with to tie it off was a perfect combination, in my opinion. And she alone also has on TikTok 10K, just below 10K followers, and she has just over 200 subs on YouTube, and she's only dropped 1 video, and it is fire. You should definitely check it out if you haven't. And her link tree is in the description below, and you can join her Discord as long as you're not toxic. They already have that locked down. They just need to turn it down a little bit. So,
oh my god.
I hope I didn't miss anything on that either.
Oh. Nah. The Discord has gotten a little bit better. We do like debate nights. We're gonna do like more events soon, so it's a lot better. You can actually come join it. But yeah, almost 10K. Every time I try to reach a milestone on TikTok, I'll like inch there. So like it'll take like probably another 2 weeks for me to get there, but eventually I'll finally hit that. I promise.
All right. So now that the introductions are done, I just would like to say as well, if you have trouble reading, I also have their YouTubes in a little section below me right now. So hopefully you guys can get in on that as well, because they are incredible content creators, and they are part of the reason why I even started doing content creation, along with Parvision. He also pushed me to do it. So following them is an amazing journey, especially to hear all their thoughts on the latest chapters and everything in between, and especially theories. I'm a big fan of theories. So, as of right now, where would you guys like to begin?
You want to talk about how bad Kid is, or Marco? We could choose either. One.
I'm cool
If not,
with
we could do
Marco.
something completely different.
Wow.
I'm cool with Marco. To the most underutilized fruit, except for kids, almost.
I was joking.
What is this?
I was joking.
How can you be a phoenix and be so terrible?
I'm joking.
my
I'm joking. No, we can
my
start. Did
God.
you have anything that you? I think you said you had something, right, Taku?
Yeah. So you're about to go down this rabbit hole with me, and it's a deep one. So when I first saw in one of the chapters about how Kuma was a special race, I immediately was thinking about all the races that we know of, right? And I felt like none of them really matched what I believe him to be. So that's why I kind of went back and Sky P is kind of like this amazing thing almost after the fact. Like, I enjoyed it so much when I was watching it, but like, even to go back now, it's incredible. And so I was thinking, I'm like, if Skypiea is this like kind of, world building thing that is almost more incredible the more we find out, I'm like, I have to think that it also holds some significance for what we're seeing right now. And I immediately was like, okay, so what's a race that was pretty much almost completely wiped out to the point of almost not existing? And I thought maybe that Kuma is Birkin. And I think that Enel came down and, obliterated almost all the Birkins. But from what we know from his cover story, we know that, the Skypeans and the Shandians and we got to see them in hieroglyphs. And I believe that the original Birkins came from the moon because the moon was called Burka, if I remember correctly. So what if they descended upon the Earth, and some of them made it to Sky Islands, but then some of them also made it to just the regular like green Earth, like not the white sky. So that made me think that he might be a specific race of Birkin that is very that wasn't born with wings. Because when we get to see him in the flashback with Bonnie, I was thinking, wow, he looks like he's got a darker complexion, like some of the Birkins that we've seen, like your Rouge. And it makes me think that he is part of that special race. Because, that would make sense. Like, these are people that originated on the moon and came down. But all the Shandians and the Skypean people that we've seen have been on, the White Sea. And so they've developed wings over time through evolution. And what if he just didn't do that because he was on the Blue Sea? And so he never got those wings. And that would mean that there's something very special about the moon people. And that's honestly how I think that they're going to bring Enel in. And I think that he's going to play a significant role in that, as well as Yarouge, on how we're able to figure out these special races and what they have to do with the ancient kingdom. So, what are your thoughts?
You could take the floor, Princess.
Oh, you're so kind. On that point, I had a theory super similar, like basically about like the Birkins and the Moon people, which I'll get into later. But I think I actually made a video saying that I thought that Kuma was just a Birkin, and he had his wings removed, very similarly to other Birkins. So I think it's definitely possible. I also think that the Birkins are probably the most powerful or ruling race, and that Emu could definitely be a Birkin, considering what Kuma was holding, with his Bible, and how it shows the Birkin wings, and also the Skypean wings on it, meaning that it's probably from like the sky, which would be really interesting. So I feel like there's some sort of religious symbolism with the Birkin race and the rest. So yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's a really solid theory, and there's a lot of evidence like in canon for that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been I don't want him to be any type of angeled person, to be honest. I think that there's too much focus on that right now. Um, Wano was a big miss in a lot of areas, and I think that I would gladly like to see if Kuma was probably like a different type of Oni, and we can just keep it on the blue sea for now. Because when we start talking about the moon and such like that, it's such a distance from there to here, and it kind of throws One Piece into this. Um, I wouldn't say cartoonish because it is a cartoon, but it throws it makes it a little bit like faker to me, where like there's not like everybody's still using boats, right? Everybody's still using boats on the blue sea, and then out of nowhere we just have a spaceship that could just take us there. It's like kind of annoying to me in a way where like I know that the angels are important. I suspect that there might have been like space racism because most Birkins happen to be sort of white, and the Skypeans are really white. And then we have like a couple of angels that are somewhat mixed in those families. And then we have like the Lunarians who are just basically black people with wings, and they have black wings. So that's probably why they were on the red line in comparison to like the rest of the angels who happen to come from the sky or the moon, using weather balls, by the way, which is in the theory that I put out. So I hope Kuma is a completely different race and he's not an angel. I would like to see him be some sort of estranged type of human. The same way we have like long arm tribes or the long leg tribes or the Onis or a fishman. Like all these interesting races are still on the blue sea. I don't think that we necessarily always have to go to the moon because we know nothing about the moon. I don't even think life comes from the moon, right? Because there's no resources in order to support life on the moon. So that's why the Birkins and the Skypeans and the Shandorians came down. That was why they left the Burka Moon City, was because they didn't have resources. The same way, like, I know I'm saying it wrong, but Herodes on Wethria, he literally stated to Nami, I come down to the Blue Sea to get resources and to collect like data about weather around the world. So I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of going into the sky, but I am a huge fan of finding out more different type of people that exist that are completely off the chain.
I can agree with that. I mean, I would love to have us introduced to something new. I just feel like maybe Oda put it in there so nonchalantly as far as like with the cover story and with kind of like just showing us all the way back in Skypiea. And he did that in a way that it gave us just enough information, but not enough to actually like place it anywhere outside of like knowing that Yarouge is Birkin. And like, there are other characters in the story, like even Blackbeard, who have just like a slighter, darker complexion, almost similar to how Yarouge and Kuma look. And that could be showing us that maybe they're all a part of the same race that is very special. Because, I mean, all three of them have very interesting powers and skill sets. So maybe they all could be part of a different clan that we just don't know about. In fact, it could be the main clan that was in the ancient kingdom, and one of the reasons why they were so dangerous to where the world government said, no, we gotta wipe them out like now. So I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, because I think that would work still. But I just have this feeling that he is, for some reason. Like I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's going to tie that together. And yeah. I think that there's a lot more with Kuma, and I'm gonna get into that next. But I just have a feeling that he is Birkin, and I think that I think that is going to be part of the way that we tie Enel back into the story, because it's almost like Chekhov's gun. Like, they showed him leaving and we got our cover story almost as if like, hey, this is happening somewhere else and this is going to become relevant later. So I think that there's got to be more to it. Like, Enel is going to come back into the story. And I think that maybe even as a power source that Vegapunk utilizes, similar to the way that he utilized his own power to power the moon back up with the automata. So I don't know. I'm not sure. But my next point is...
Hold on, before you move, though. So I would agree that Enel should come back because he just seems so relevant because of his power. But for his character, narratively, it doesn't make sense. Like, even if he decides to, like, throw out and dish out some information, all that information probably could just be, dived into by Vegapunk. Because he seems to be a character of exposition at this point, where he can tell us the inner workings of the moon. Because we can suspect that his great-great-grandfather on Katakuri, which is the same island that Vegapunk was born on, is where we saw Enel's cover story with the automata that were being built. And they went to the moon, and then we saw like the big head that Vegapunk has as the space pirates insignia on their hats. So it's like we can just get all the information from Vegapunk at some point, and then Enel would serve no purpose because Oda would have to put all this effort into making a reason as to why Enel should be back into the story and why he's still relevant. And I feel like at this point in time, it contradicts like Enel's personality. Enel's not gonna randomly after 2 years just have this, yo, I'm not Kami. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's gonna come back and be like, yo, I'm gonna take anybody and everybody I want out. And Luffy was just like this, freak of nature that could just counter me. You know what I'm saying? And I love Enel. I attend the church every Sunday at 9 a.m. I break bread, I drink wine, and I hope he comes back. But as my favorite character, I don't think he's coming back. Also, Yaruj is not actually confirmed a Birkin, which is kind of crazy. But if he is, it makes sense. But if you notice, if Kuma is the first, I wouldn't say the first Birkin, but if he is a Birkin, that means his S bear would be Birkin combined with a Lunarian, and that would be the first time we've ever seen those two races cross over. Which would be super interesting to see what kind of abilities they have, because Birkins aren't actually known for their bodies. What they're actually known for is their incredible knowledge on weather. And we've had that with Herodes and the scientists, where they were able to build a sky island that's artificial, and then they were able to produce weather balls, but also with Enel and his ability to use his fruit to its highest potential. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're very well versed in weather, but not bodies wise. That's why I wouldn't say like Kuma would be a Birkin, but I would probably say like he's more like Blackbeard, where like his body is special. And there's only been 2 races in the entire show that's shown to have those type of statistics or attributes, and those are the Onis and the Lunarians. So it'd be dope if he happened to be the first one. Again, that's a mixed race, that he happens to be a Lunarian and an Oni put together. And that would be badass.
So let me just interject very quickly. So here is the big thing with Kuma, is that his race has to be relevant to the story of One Piece, meaning that there are 2 different directions that can be taken. The first direction is that we're going to get a lot more insight on the Birkin race, and specifically about the interworkings of what happened when they came down from the moon. And it's like, that's a direction that can take, because it can give us more insight into what happened with like the Void Century, and perhaps even into Emu and with the Bible that he was holding. The second one is what Larry's idea is, and the only way I can see him doing that would be if he is the same race as Blackbeard, giving us more insight into this man who has such a weird body. Maybe Kuma had an incredibly weird body as well. That's why Vegapunk wanted to experiment on him, and they could take that direction, which would lead us more like having information into our final villain. So those are the 2 directions that I can see it taking. So it all depends. Like, I think that they're both viable options though. But it depends. Does Oda want to go more into like the Blackbeard portion where he's gonna like use Kuma's rights to basically explain some weird interworking with this, or is it going to be like this is gonna be Void Century information, Birkin stuff, like maybe even Emu stuff? That's where I see this going.
I definitely agree with that. And actually, to something Larry said, so I actually had a really crazy theory before we got like into Egghead. When we saw everything happen in Leloucia, I was like, okay, I'm like, that looks like something Enel could do. Like, I was literally like, him raining down all those 16 lightning bolts to completely wipe out the to Leloucia, I was immediately like, that's an L. Like, I didn't think it was an ancient weapon. Like, I kind of, like, at first I was like, it might be, but I was like, I think this might be an L. But it made sense to me because of what we talked about last time, Chestnut, about the command of all things and Emu being able to basically push her will into someone. And I made it, now this is a little bit of mental gymnastics, but I thought about the cover story and how Enel was looking at all the hieroglyphs that showed basically all of the ancient weapons and like what happened. But maybe there was something that we didn't get to see that Enel did. And Enel, knowing that there might be a ancient weapon in Marie-Joie, came back down from the moon on the Arc Maxim and then made it to Marie-Joie just for Emu to basically take control of him and then use him as a tool to wipe continents out from existence. And by using the command of all things, Enel would be subjugated and used by actually, and this is where it kind of comes full circle of what is his plot like significance. He's someone who thinks he's God, but when confronted with someone who actually has the powers of a god, he's subservient to them and has to basically be their slave, wiping out these islands. So Emu using the command of all things on Enel is now using him as a weapon, as a tool to destroy these places that will not fall in line. So that was a theory that I had before we kind of got into Egghead, and I don't know, I don't really stand by it still, but I believe that there is a significance for Enel to come back into the story, especially knowing now that the person who defeated them is actually a god in a way. Like Luffy having the Nika fruit and beating someone who claims to be a god as an actual god. I feel like there's some sort of significance there. Whether or not it's to have Enel's dreams basically be crushed by finding out the fact that he's not a god, or for him to actually come and play an essential role in what will be end of series, or at least some exposition of knowing what happened on the moon. Because we don't technically need everyone to go to the moon to see those sort of things if we have someone who was there that comes back. So.
I will say, I do think that Enel's attack isn't powerful enough to erase an island from existence, and if the Arc Maxim ended up coming down over Marie-Joie, people would talk about it. And it's like, it would line up almost too perfectly, so people would be like, okay, so the world government has this weapon, and people would know about it, and rumors would spread. Like, Big News Morgan would have already put that down. So I think that Enel being under the control of Emu, or Enel having some sort of interaction, is very slight, considering that, like, there's almost no way he's going to make it there. And if he's on Marie-Joie and he's fighting, like, there's no way that he's going to survive that. Like, especially against, like, the admirals. Like, I just don't think that Enel is powerful enough, because he really hasn't been testing. Like, he really hasn't been fighting. He lost to Luffy, and that's it. So it's like, see, like looking at that from that angle, I don't see it. I also think that whatever weapon was used on Louisa had to be an ancient weapon. Like, there's no way that something that powerful to be able to destroy an entire island could be somebody's devil fruit, because, like, wouldn't these top tiers be doing it? Like Kaido and Luffy should have destroyed the whole island. Like, yeah, we saw Luffy like do something in Dressrosa, but it didn't destroy everything. It didn't kill everybody else. Like, it's hard to say that that's Enel. And I also, so here's my thing, right? I like Enel and I think he's a cool villain. I don't know. The only way I can see him coming back in the story is like how you said, where he's going to give us information about the moon. But even to that point, I would think that an automata coming down and giving the information might be better, because Anella isn't going to give up that information. Like, he's not one to share. So I don't know. I'm on the train that Anel's probably not coming back into the story, and that we're probably going to get some sort of like automata or something coming down and divulging information like that. But that's just my opinion.
I agree with that too, because I'm looking over the Nell cover story once again, and he obtained his goal. I don't think he's ever going to leave the moon. There's no reason for it. He already succeeded. Like, he's the only villain in One Piece that has actually succeeded. He won. Like, even though he lost, he won. And he was like, yo, I'm going to Verth. Like, I'm good, yo. And I'm never coming back. What I will say is, this is going to be a little mental gymnastics too. It's like, the moon doesn't really have anything besides, we can say, solar energy, right? Solar energy, because there's no water, hence there's no clouds, unless there's like storm clouds, which doesn't, I don't know how that works in the One Piece world. But I've said it in my Uranus theory video, and I think realistically the Birkins were probably the first people to work with hockey being a substitute for electricity. And I mentioned it also in the video that, like, because Vegapunk is looking for an ancient fuel, it's either the robot was powered by specifically dreams or, in other terms, hockey. Because hockey is everywhere. Rayleigh stated it. Everybody has it. It's just, are you able to access it? And I think that if you're able to harness whatever hockey is around you, it can be in plants. It could be in the earth, or it could be in the water itself. Like, it could be like a spirit bomb type of thing where Emu has been collecting hockey over time and placing it, because I think Uranus is a weather ball. He placed the hockey into the weather ball, but he needed like a conduit, like somebody that could possibly transfer the hockey he's been accumulating and transfer it into the weather ball somehow. And I think usually you have to have like somebody with like a conqueror spirit, or possibly a way to envelop their hockey with weather itself, and they would activate that weather ball to rain down all that significant ancient fuel that he's been storing up. And I know it sounds weird and crazy, but if we really look at it, it's like how is it not a weather ball at this point? Like Enel, we still, like, it's not confirmed, but Enel, when he destroyed Burka, he didn't say he used a ship. He just said, like, yo, it was said by the officer that goes, Hesu. I forgot his name, but he goes, yo, it was said he just destroyed Burka as is. And then when he came to Skypiea, he came and said, this Arc Maxim is the only one of its kind in the whole world. So that was like the first time he ever used something to amplify his Devil Fruit abilities, which it did in order to create thunderclouds, which then looked like a huge weather ball. So it's like, and then he rained down Raiga on Skypiea and completely destroyed it. I think there's a lot of insinuations or foreshadows from Enel, but I think that when I look at my favorite character, he's done. He's completed his journey. I love him. I agree with Chestnut. An automata could just come down and be like, yo, this is what happened, and we'll move forward. But I wish he could come back, bro. I'd be looking like, yo, Ace, come back too, bro. I want Ace to come back.
Ace? Bro. He's not coming back.
Yo.
He's not coming back. It's a shame, but he's not.
I think Enel has conquerors, by the way.
I could believe that. I mean, he has a dream that he wants to obtain. Like, he has kind of the blueprint for it. It's just whether or not he actually has it. Whether it's genetically that you get it or not.
The interesting thing about Anel's cover story too is like if you look back at it, right, and you look at Professor Tsukimi, who is the ones that he was the one that created the 4 automata with like the knight, the soldier, the samurai, and like the Russian hat guy, right? That was hundreds of years ago. When he dies, it's from an explosion on the moon, right? Yo, I don't know if they had technology. They had technology. I don't know if they had electricity for anything to explode the moon the way it did. And when people look at the cover story, it's in different timelines. Like it'll show you Anel's timeline, and then it'll show Professor Tsukimi's timeline, and then it'll go back to Anel, and it makes you think that whatever explosion that Anel created was done by him, and then Tsukimi saw it. So the bigger question is, people on the moon, were they actually working with technology? I mean, not technology, with electricity, or were they actually using hockey to power everything?
Listen, Larry, hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. Let me answer your question really quickly. So, it is very interesting in the One Piece world that basically, and Mosh put me onto this because he basically like at like 12 o'clock like called me out of nowhere. We were talking about this, and I was looking at panels. There are very few places in the One Piece world that genuinely use like real real electricity technology. There's the labs like that Vegapunk created, and like a couple Navy bases, I think. But the majority of the power or energy either comes from coal energy, like steam powered or cola, which is just obviously supposed to be like coal energy or like a fossil fuel, and then like lights, like just like regular fire. It is very interesting that Void Century technology runs on electricity. Like it seems like it runs solely on electricity. What thing in One Piece looks like electricity? Is Black Lightning? Tell me, Larry, tell me.
I mean, it could.
It's Conqueror's hockey.
Well, that's what I was pointing out.
Exactly. Like every single time in One Piece, we see some sort of electricity. Also, don't mind me grabbing my Pepsi off screen. Every single time we have some sort of Conqueror's hockey or hockey clash, it's always lightning. And then like this Anel cover story, which basically seems like, oh, it's meaningless. It's just him going to the moon. Everything from this Void Century like civilization is powered by electricity. All of a sudden, a robot attacks Murray Joie like after 400 years. And we know from Shanks during Wano that you can put your Conqueror's hockey very far out. I just like to put that there, and then I've said my piece. I'm done. I just got really excited because I think I'm stuttering. I'm so excited about this dude because electricity is probably going to be one of the coolest things because I think that electricity is specifically tied to Conqueror's hockey in One Piece, and it's why it's been in our faces the entire time. Like all of this weird ancient technology, that is the eternal flame. I also think I know you put me onto like that elemental hockey thing. And I think that there are like different, like clearly there are different like races that use like elemental hockey and stuff like that. So it's like that's probably going to be incorporated into One Piece at some point. We kind of see it with the Minks and their like electricity sort of hockey, where it's like they're just able to produce electricity.
Yeah.
You know, like this thing that nobody else can use, they don't use as a power source, and yet people can produce it. Why not harness that? Is there a reason that the Minks are completely secluded from the rest of the world on Zao? Because they were maybe used for their hockey because they're able to produce electricity. I don't know. It's weird. It's a little suspicious.
They could have been. They could have originally been part of the Ancient Kingdom, and they were used to power the Ancient Kingdom. I mean, it's possible that that's what they were using. Or you're right. It could have been hockey. And I actually think that that's true. That's why I think that the robot was only able to make it so far, was because they gave a ton of hockey to it during the Fishman Revolution. And that was all powering it because, like, you know, that's all dreams, basically. Like, dreams and hockey were going into them trying to seek freedom. And then what happens? Like, it only made it so far, and that just means that the people that were transmitting their dreams and their hockey weren't able to do it to that level like Shanks is able to do, where, you know, he's beneath the bottom of Wano and shoots it up over and just completely nerfs an admiral. Like he doesn't. I'd imagine that the Fishman Revolution didn't exactly have someone of Shank's caliber leading them, so it would make sense.
Yeah, and this is where it dives into it for me. It's like this is where people with Conqueror's Haki can't just be spurred. Like they can't be sprouted. They can't be farmed. Even though I believe they were being enslaved. And this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, in my opinion, for the story. It's because if the Birkins were the master race, right, for the angels, and the Shandorians were there, and the Skypians were there, and they were the upper class of whatever they were on the moon, they probably were that because of their I would say their weather technology that they probably built through the creation of Haki. And they were probably enslaving other angels that had Conqueror's Hakis, for instance, because it powers almost everything. And I don't know if you guys ever saw Fire Force. Have you ever finished it?
I have not finished Fire Force, but I do know how it ends because I'm a spoil magnet.
Okay.
So I have not finished it yet, but
okay. I won't say anything. But what I will say is that sometimes you can use somebody in order to create technology based on what they are as a person. And Conqueror's Haki seems to be somewhat infinite within an individual. It just takes a lot of energy out of them. But what if there's a way to consistently like reproduce energy within that person so they could keep reproducing energy that they can only make? And that would seem kind of insane to say, but then we have people like the Lunarians who happen to run away and go to the Red Line because they're the most special of the angels, because they can handle such strenuous like stress on their bodies, or, you know, the climates that they're in. I don't know. I just feel like that might have happened on the moon and it caused the Lunarians to run away. And then that's when like everybody had to get off the moon, because now there was nothing that they could do. There was no other people that had the willpower of the Lunarians at that time, or that they could just reproduce themselves, because conquerors are so scarce throughout the world. So they ended up leaving, and it came down to the blue planet in order to survive. And I know I'm rambling on, but like now my mind is working, and it just keeps going into the fact that like when we look at like Vivi, and again I'm going back to the video, but when I looked at Vivi, she might have conquerors to a degree where she doesn't overcome people, but she overcomes the weather, and she changes the weather to whatever she wants it to do. She just does it subconsciously because she doesn't know she has it. So if she's missing during the reverie and nobody knows where she is, then Im might have been like, yo, she's the conduit I need to process all this Haki to help her keep producing her own Haki, and then she could like rain down everything that Uranus might be able to give her the ability to do. And that's why like we haven't seen Uranus for a while, or why Dragon has completely stayed away. Why? Because Dragon also has what we suspect, a weather-like ability. So he'd probably be able to control Uranus himself if he chose to. He might not even need Conqueror's Haki. But it's just the simple fact that like if this is a weather ball and they're able to do such things, weather balls are mad important, by the way. Like that's how the Automata got to the moon, and that's how the Skypians and, you know, the other angels got down from the moon, is that they used weather balls. They're even using weather balls like balloons, and that's the only time we've ever seen it. And when Nami had a weather ball balloon on a ship to come down to the Blue Sea. It's like all these things kind of connect, and I think that if we think about it, then Emu's probably a Birkin, because now he knows about weather and how weather works. And he's like, yo, this is why I'm able to access Uranus if I can from anywhere. It allows me to use the command of all things anytime I want now. But that was like the missing piece. This is why Vivi's probably still missing. I know, I've said mad shit. My bad.
No, hold on. You mind if I respond? I'm so sorry. You mind if I respond really quick? Because I have two things that I want to talk about.
No, go ahead.
The first thing I want to talk about is when you were talking about a perpetual motion machine, which is basically something that can create energy and work off of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure. So I did pull up a Wikipedia article. So like you can use multiple different things but the only thing that like multiple different energy sources can technically be a perpetual motion machine, but the biggest thing is that they have to like slowly dissipate kinetic energy, so like gravity, like heat, anything that's interstellar, like these type of things can technically create like perpetual motion. So it would make sense that if you have some sort of like interstellar medium, aka hockey, you would be able to create a perpetual motion machine that could just run off of itself, aka like an eternal flame. And that's basically what they were talking about, which is really interesting because what is devil fruits? Like somebody could literally dream of a perpetual motion machine, and it could be a thing, and it works within the confines of science. And it's like it's interesting because like the sun, for example, like the sun will eventually burn out, like even though it's technically a perpetual motion, but it's like maybe that's something that happened like during that time. And then kind of to your VV point, and I wanted to send you a link a while ago, so I sent it to both of you guys in the chat, but there is this TED Talk by this guy named David Chamblers that I watched like 5 years ago. And it basically talks about that there are fundamental elements of the world, right? There's space, time, like mass and stuff. But is there a way that we can, like, is there a difference between something that has consciousness and that doesn't? And he kind of goes through that consciousness is another fundamental element of like building block of the universe. Which, if you think about it, it kind of is very similar to Larry's theory, in which, like, Conker's hockey would basically be a control over, like, higher levels of consciousness. Like, you know what I mean? Because you're able to, like, go over something that's conscious. But then, like, Vivi, for example, maybe she isn't able to exert that onto people, but onto mass and matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like onto rain or weather. Like, these things also have, like, different levels of consciousness that you're able to control, which is basically what that video goes into. And if you guys haven't seen that video, it is a very good video, and it explains a lot about like different levels of consciousness and how some beings, like a rock, has consciousness, but not as much as an actual human, which could explain why Vivi like doesn't have like can only do it on certain things, because once you get to a certain level of consciousness, like you become human and lifelike.
So the Japanese believe that everything has a voice. Like the headphones you wear, the mic you're talking into, that the hat, like everything. So if Vivi during that time in Alabasta did subconsciously tap into the weather to make it rain, immediately after it stopped, like immediately after it rained and it was touching everybody just stopped fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe she can't exert her will into others like some of the conquerors that we know, but she can exert her will into things that have smaller wills, such as like the sky, and
kind of build it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like what type of machine is it? Where it's like you use like exertational force, and it's like if you tried to lift up something with a huge rock by yourself, you couldn't, but with a pulley system, you can.
Yeah.
She's basically just using a pulley. Yeah, I agree. I loved your theory. I wanted to send you this video, but I had like ADHD brain, so I just forgot.
But no, I like that a lot, actually. And that would make a lot of sense because, I mean, there were a lot of people in that square that were even Baroque Works agents that were fighting. And even though they had the will to actually fight on, and because their whole thing was basically to cause as much chaos as possible, once it started raining and once the rain touched them is when they all stopped. So that actually like kind of gives more credence to what you're saying. Like for her to basically affect her will through the rain, and the rain is the conduit in which she delivers her will to them. I think that's ingenious. I think that's a really good point. I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still like I think there's a lot of things within the Enel hieroglyphics from Burka, but specifically, I think there are. It's weird, but when you look at the second hieroglyphics, it definitely lets you know that they are talking about the ancient weapons inside there, and I believe that the weather balloons happen to be very, very important. It's just I just don't know much else about it, but I always tell people, like, I get on Blackbeard, I get on Marco, I get on Kid, I get on all these characters like Mihawk and stuff, but like I get on Ace and Enel too. Like those are my actual favorite. Like I'm not biased, bro. Like I'll let you know. I wish they would come back, but I just know that Enel currently just he's too much of a character in order to not steal the story somewhat. Like to take the story away from what's ever happening. Like he's not the type of like everybody thinks that he's just gonna come down from the moon and just explain all this stuff. Anel doesn't give a fuck about nobody. The point of his personality is that he's lightning, right? Like lightning destroys everything. This is the reason why the lightning fruit went to him, and it's because lightning itself doesn't care about anything. It strikes randomly. It thinks it's above everybody else. Technically, it is, right? Because it's in the air. It just doesn't care. Like everybody's devil fruit matches their personality. He just doesn't care, bro. He only cares about himself. If we even want to bring it a step further, he's Zeus. Zeus didn't care about anybody else. Like
That's true.
That's it. So it's like, yo, if Doflamingo came back into the story right now and he knew about the ancient weapon Uranus, do you think he would tell anybody about it, or would he just try to take it for his own? He'd just be like, yo, fuck these guys, bro. You know, my bad.
I think no, you're fine. I mean, honestly, I don't really care about cursing too much on my channel.
Yeah.
But no, I 100% agree. But I think Doflamingo does know about Uranus. I think that was the treasure in Marijois, and I honestly think that Eam was probably the person who ordered Moria to be killed. And I think that plays like after Marineford, and I think that plays into the fact that I think Blackbeard wants that fruit. I think Eam knew that after what had happened at Marineford with him taking Whitebeard's fruit, I think Eam was like, all right, we need to kill Moria because he has the shadow fruit, and I think that's going to be key to something that Blackbeard wants to do. That's why when Moria was like, who ordered this? Was it Sengoku? And he was like, no, someone way higher up on the food chain. And that's why I think that was Eam. And I think that lends even more to my point of Eam having the ability to push their will into someone, is because Doflamingo didn't even want to fuck with that. He was like, no, I'm good. I will follow those orders. Like, he knew who might be on top of the food chain, and he knew that he couldn't step to them in any sort of way.
On your point about Moria's devil fruit, I had a theory a while ago that the main goal of Blackbeard was to recreate the Rocks Pirates. And the way that he was going to do that is that he was going to take Moria's devil fruit and steal a bunch of bodies from like Rocks, Roger, Whitebeard, like just take all of these bodies, instill them with the shadows of like really powerful people, and then just have like this massive army of just undead old legendary pirates. And I think, like, kind of on your point that like maybe like it had something to do with the treasure under Marie Joie, I'm wondering if maybe under Marie Joie the 20 bodies of the original like kings are underneath there, because if, as we know, there obviously the ancient kingdom was incredibly impressive. We know that all of the kings except for the king from Alabaster went over, they all went over into Marie Joie and they lived there. It's like, why is Moria's fruit so important? Like, we have all of this stuff with Moria's devil fruit. Like, what if at some point they need to reawaken the bodies in order to cause some sort of massive calamity? Like the same thing that happened to the ancient kingdom with Joy Boy that he wasn't able to stop. Like, what if you need the bodies of these people to do it? And the Celestial Dragons are just technically a cover-up for that. And that's why Moria's devil fruit is so important. I feel like his devil fruit is definitely coming back into the fray, considering how much like importance has been put to it and how much like screen time this guy has gotten, specifically around his devil fruit. But I think it's interesting. So
yeah, I definitely agree. I think that Moria is way more important than we give him credit for. Just because he was generally very weak in basically the warlord system. Like Crocodile was weak, but the only reason he was weak was because of the fact that he was up against Luffy and was using. I mean, I think that it's fair to give him this because of the fact that he was using his power over all of Alabasta to suck the moisture out of the air, similar to how Kaido was using his power to lift up and move a whole island. I feel like it would be crazy to not give that same like points to Crocodile for literally taking all the moisture out of all of Alabasta when Alabasta is fucking huge. Like it would only make sense that that would be him being taxed and by using his power that far away. So that's why he was so easily beaten. So I think that he's probably actually stronger than Moria, but Moria just happens to be a slight bit weaker. But a lot of things play into like the shadow being part of a person and like how they can't survive in the daylight without their shadow. You know, it's like a part of their soul, almost like a part of their will. So like when they lose their shadow, it's like they don't have that, like they don't have as much willpower. So it could be something to do with that. And it could have also had something to do with the way that Blackbeard may want to power himself up. Almost similar to Larry's theory about him being able to take the will of the previous user. What if he just wants to use Moria's power to steal the wills and the powers of people's shadows and put them inside of himself, similar to how Luffy had the 100 shadows and he took the like 1,000 shadows of all of Thriller Bark to give himself an edge? It could be because of the way Blackbeard's body is made like very special. It could be that he could store more shadows in his body and that would give him more power than anything else, along with the fact that he has 2 very strong devil fruits, maybe 3.
That could definitely be something, especially with like it's already foreshadowed with Nightmare Luffy, like, and as we know, like Blackbeard can create like an infinite eternal night. It also is really cool for Blackbeard, so yes. Larry, don't say nothing. I already see. I see you smirking. Don't say nothing about my boy. Go ahead, Larry. Go spit your truth.
I don't have anything to say.
That's what I thought. But no, I definitely think that that's possible. I think that by the end of the series, like I don't think that Blackbeard has a lot of his own power. I've never been one to say like, oh, he's just like crazy strong, like because he like worked hard or he does stuff. He's conniving and underhanded, and he will take power from other sources, which is why I love him so much, because it's like he doesn't gain. I don't know if you've seen the new Puss in Boots movie, but there's this character called Jack Horner, and he's just evil. And it's like, I just love like just pure evil characters. And Blackbeard is just like an evil character. Like he's just, there's no real rhyme or reason except he wants to do something and therefore he'll do it. And he just doesn't have the moral bounds that Luffy does. And he's like a true pirate in that sense. So like having him like steal like a bunch of souls to gain their power, it just fits so well into his character. And because his body is so weird, like he'd probably look almost the exact same. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, and I would really like that, especially because it fits with the themes, and it would also make Blackbeard a lot stronger without having to have him like work towards it.
Yeah, and I think that would fit with his character because of the fact that he literally takes and takes and takes and like never gives anything up. Just to basically make himself stronger. It's not him going through a training arc. It's not him training his hockey. It's him taking the power of someone else, adding it to his own, and saying, "Yeah, no, I'm that fucking strong just because I stole all this power." Similar to Larry's, like, you know, taking hockey from the previous user.
Lincoln
he should
bio.
be able to. Yeah, he exactly. Just like that theory, it's not like he got it out the mud. No, he stole it and now he's using it. So I think that fits with his character perfectly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Gecko Moria, to be honest. There's a lot of things that I think there's a lot of threads that Oda could go in different directions with. So while you guys were like, saying your ideas and I was listening, I was also like looking at the previous times we've actually seen Gecko Moria, and it is strange that he got away from Doflamingo, especially where it seems like Doflamingo separated his shadow that so he couldn't use it to get away or to even fight back. Um, and then also when he just went to Fullaled, it just looks like, he was upset about Absalom looking for him, and then Blackbeard kind of offered him a spot to be on the Blackbeard Pirates. So he might be the 10th captain, the 10th Titanic captain from what we're seeing. I don't know the usage. It seems like to me having the Yami Yami and the Shadow Fruit would kind of contradict each other because the Yami Yami doesn't have the weaknesses of said Shadow Fruit. All you really need is like some salt in order to take the shadow that you've consumed away. That's been proven. So I don't think that, anybody with some hockey can just take away the shadow that's inserted into them as well. It just depends. It's like there's a lot of like Parvision had a really big theory and he's kind of known for it regarding like the shadows and Gecko Moria and stuff like that. I don't remember it too well, but I know that it seems like it fits, but I don't know. To me, it just seems like it actually make Blackbeard weaker. I think that when we look at Blackbeard's power, he literally has a pocket dimension inside his body like Kirby. Like he could suck anything in, and then I think because it's a dimension of compression, this is probably, like I've said in the video, this is probably why he's able to have two devil fruits, where these two entities never get the chance to even interact because they're so compressed from each other, and it's so dark and pitch black that they probably don't even know they're there. So it's like, I think he can consume as many devil fruits as he wants at this point. I don't even think it's because of his body. I think the Yami Yami is just that crazy that it allows him to do such things. And if he did that with the shadow ability, I think they would probably make his darkness weaker. To me, it seems like it would make his darkness weaker.
What if he uses that pocket dimension to store shadows and is taking from their energy? Like, I mean, if he's able to basically, because I mean, we've seen it before, like he's able to, suck up people, matter, and everything else, and then spew it back out if he wants to. But what if he just uses it to store all of those shadows and is able to basically keep them inside that area? And that's basically kind of like it emanates out from him. So it's like it's part of him. Like his darkness is literally a part of him. Like I wouldn't even see why someone wouldn't be able to use hockey to maybe even grab him by the darkness around his feet and stuff like that, because he's technically supposed to be like a Logia. So like that darkness is part of him. So if he sucked people into that or shadows into his darkness, I wouldn't see why he wouldn't be able to channel that through. And then that would get rid of the weakness of just being hit by salt, because how are you going to get into his pocket dimension to hit them with salt or anything like that? No, they're in a completely different area away from all that. So him being able to channel that power, I feel like would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, but the salt water itself, like if Blackbeard just got a bucket splashed on him, he can't just suck away that water. You know what I'm saying? Like he's still gonna get hit by the water. Like I don't think that the devil fruit itself doesn't get turned off when he's like in the ocean. He can probably still use it quite a bit, but to some degree it's going to affect his abilities. So I wouldn't say that he can just immediately just like be able to tank seawater at any level. I think it's still going to affect him. I think he would be less susceptible to losing his power if he was just the Yami Yami. But if he also has the shadows, again, it comes into this mindset of people, for me, is that if you are having such a hard time trying to awaken one fruit, you're going to have 2 times the amount of difficulty awakening 2 fruits. All right, so now he has 3. So it's like, how can he be able to effectively use these all at high grades if he has to take so much time to learn each one and to be able to catch up his mind and body with each devil fruit? Like, I would say even with Gecko Moria, even if he got water splashed on him, I think that some of those shadows would exit out of his body. Blackbeard doesn't seem any different from Gecko Moria and his ability to use devil fruits. It's just that he has too much on his plate, and Blackbeard isn't the strongest willed character in the show. I think everybody knows that. So it's like, how does he actually function and be able to keep those shadows in? I mean, I don't know. It seems like he can be overpowered for sure. I'm not saying he's not going to be. I think he could be the most overpowered person in the entire show. But like, I don't know, man. Like, I think that Gecko Moria is most likely the 10th captain. Like, now that I look at it.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm not saying that Blackbeard has his fruit. I'm saying that Gecko Moria gives him those shadows to overpower him. So then Gecko Moria would just be using kind of similar to like how Luffy obviously didn't have the shadow fruit, but they were able to put all those shadows inside of him. Moria would be able to take those shadows and give them to Blackbeard, and he would suck them up. And it's similar to like how we think that maybe that's how he has the Guraguro's power. I mean, if any sort of amount of water would have taken that ability away from him, then he would have lost that ability as well, and then only would have had the Yami Yami. So I'm saying, like, if they're in like a pocket dimension inside of him and he's able to utilize them through that, I think he could be able to do the same thing with the shadows.
So the thing about Luffy, right, is when he went into that Shadow Luffy mode, he had the abilities of everybody, but he also had the memories of those people. And that's where it gets into the conversation we had on the podcast yesterday, where memories happen to be sort of like he would be interacting with too many consciousness at one time, if that makes sense. Like he has 2 devil fruits, then he has all these shadows in comparison. And it's like when you combine all those together, it again seems like it's a little too much. Maybe it could be explained in a better way that I could understand it, but for me, I just feel like there's just too much. There's just too much. It makes his character too complicated. He's gonna take on like the mannerisms of some of these other characters, so he's not even gonna seem like himself. Then it gets into like the split personality trait, and it's like at the end of the day, the show is about hockey. It's about willpower of an individual to take whatever dream or ambition they want to its highest height, and to be able to overcome anything in their path. And it's like if Blackbeard is interacting with himself, with too many of himself, how does he ever overcome anything? If he's always battling himself, does everybody just succumb to him within him? That would make no sense, personality wise, in my perspective for him either, because he's not that type of person. I don't know
with that. He doesn't exactly have like a conqueror's mind state in certain ways. Like, so for him to be able to, unless, and this is huge speculation, unless he does have multiple personalities inside of him that can bring all those different wills and memories under control, under like the main focus of the 3 in 1, like I just don't see it as well. And I don't want to give that to him because, I think that he's already handled a lot. But I'm just saying, I think that it's probably within the realm of possibility for that to be something that he's able to do.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just such a huge speculation piece.
This has always been my problem with Blackbeard, is that there's nothing that really explains him, and we just have to accept whatever he does as truth. And then we hype him up to the degree of this is where he serves in the purpose narratively. But realistically, he's just not at that point. And there's no proof as to saying, well, he will be there. It's just like we have to show how. Like we have to see that Boa fight. We have to be able to see what he's doing, what naming his ship the Saber of Zebek. Like we just got to get some more info overall. And I think once we get that info, we're all going to stop reaching so hard for anything that like solidifies his character. And I think he's a great character. I just personally would like to see Blackbeard and not Blackbeards. If that makes sense. Like I just don't want to see Blackbeards. Like I think the multiple personality trait diminishes his character in a way where it doesn't give him any substance as to anything that he does. It's just all at random. And the only person I've ever seen that work with in like fiction is like the Joker. You know what I'm saying? Like the Joker's the only person that's ever been that way, and he literally goes by chaos. But Blackbeard isn't necessarily about chaos. Blackbeard is about freedom. He's on the opposite side of the coin for freedom with Luffy. And both of their freedoms, which is going to be in my newest video, is they're not great freedoms. Like if you have too much freedom, the world would eventually get into chaos. Like there needs to be some constriction to what's happening on these islands. Like you can't just roam around and kill people because you wish to, because you can do it. And like that's technically chaos, but at the same time it's also freedom to a degree that it's not being patrolled correctly. So Blackbeard it doesn't fit his personality in my perspective. I think he's just a pirate, man. Like he's a true pirate. He's greedy. He wants what he wants and he'll get what he wants if he can get it. It's never I'm going to get it. It's if I can get it, I'm going to go for it. I love his character though.
I agree with that.
So here's my big thing about Blackbeard is that I think that Blackbeard can work very well, but it hinges on what his body is. So I know that everybody likes to say like, oh, he has like the Kraken Devil Fruit, or oh, he has like this like thing that allows him to have multiple things. I heard one time, and the thing is, I could never find that video again. I don't know who originated this theory, but this one, I didn't originate it. I just saw it on TikTok at some point, and I can't find the video. But Blackbeard could have like eaten like Whitebeard's heart, or like taken Whitebeard's heart and put it inside himself, and that like, and I think I've talked about this before, that I think that devil fruits could technically, like certain devil fruits can reside in like your heart, because that's where a lot of your dreams and aspirations like come. Like everybody's always like speak from the heart, like, you know what I mean, instead of like, oh, because like dreams, even though they're in your mind, like they originate in your heart, and it's like that's where a lot of stuff happens. And it's like it could just be that Blackbeard's body is able to have multiple hearts within it, and that's why he's able to have multiple devil fruits, which would make sense because his chest is absolutely huge. So I mean, it makes sense that you could fit multiple hearts in a chest that huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because a chest that huge has to have big lungs. Like you're like a heart there, you could just like fit like two in there. And I think, what is it, like an octopus or something? So there are animals that have like multiple hearts, and I think it's either like an octopus or squid, something like that, has like multiple hearts like that, which would fit kind of with like the Kraken type theory, where it's like maybe he could even be like half fishman for all we know, where it's like he's just this Mod Podge of a bunch of different races that have just like the best techniques. So, I mean, there's a lot. Oh, somebody in the comments saying like hippos have 3 stomachs, octopuses have 3 hearts. I mean, like it could be like we've been introduced to so many things, and like now we're starting to get like mixed race things with the seraphims. So seeing as like Blackbeard could be he could even be like an experimentation to see if you mix multiple races together, like what happens. Like we don't really know about him, which you're right. Like we don't know too much about like his backstory and how he's able to do stuff. But I mean, he's the most interesting character in the story right now, because there's just so much mystery around him, and I mean, there's almost too much surrounding what could actually be his power and like how he's actually able to have multiple devil fruits. But I think that we know 2 things right now. One, he definitely beat Law in his fight. Like there's no question about that. Like the next time we see that fight, like Law's done. And 2, he's going to have a very interesting fight up against Garp. And when we finally see that fight up against Garp, and I think me and Larry were talking about this at one point, because it's like, oh, he's never fought a non-devil fruit user. We're going to see what type of tricks he has. I hope that it doesn't get off screen. We can never be too sure with Oda if the Garp fight's going to get off screen. But I feel like we're going to at least see a little bit of it. We're going to see the aftermath of the Law fight. We're going to see what he does with Garp, and we're going to finally see like kind of what his secrets are hidden. And I think that Oda's been like waiting to like release secrets. Same thing with Shanks, where it's like it's just waiting, and then we're finally going to get that, and it's just gonna like it's gonna be like I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like
I just wanted to bring up a shout out to Tachi in the chat. I'm pretty sure he's still in there, because when I went on to his creator Kumite, we came up with a thought, and when we see Blackbeard, and when we see what's his name, Burgess in Dressrosa, both of the times he has a very specific dagger with him, and it's a very intricate looking dagger. And we went down this crazy thought of, what if the dagger has something to do with the way he's able to take people's power? And with the revelation that the blood is basically what holds the devil fruit's power in it, we were talking about how, what if that dagger happens to have like a specific devil fruit in it, like a vampire dagger almost. That way it's able to suck the blood out of the victim and steal their devil fruit power through their blood. But they can only do it once they have like basically died. And that's the reason why Burgess had it, and he was going to try and take Luffy's devil fruit after he loses the Mirror fruit. And we were like, wouldn't it be crazy if he was able to basically take the blood out of someone, which we know thanks to Vegapunk, that's where the lineage factor of the devil fruit is. And then he was able to basically infuse it into someone else's body and take their devil fruit through that. And we went through like a crazy thought of how they were able to do that. But it would honestly make a little bit of sense considering how much knowledge Blackbeard seems to have on devil fruits, and why he would know that it's hidden in their blood and be able to take that and manage to put it into someone else. And so I think that might be a way that he's able to do that. But I'm not 100% certain. And we kind of went down that road and we were like, this is actually pretty crazy if they were able to do something like that. Because it would make sense that since he has that devil fruit knowledge, he would be able to be like, oh, I know that it's hidden in the blood, so therefore we need to find like a vampire fruit, like a bat fruit model vampire,
Is
and
a
be able
vampire
to
fruit canonically throughout the video, like through the video games, there is canonically a vampire devil fruit.
Yeah, and so we talked
vampire.
about that, and about how that may be how they do it, but it is a little One Piece madness. But I was like, honestly, I would appreciate that, because that feels more like, now that we know that it's Sword in the Blood, it feels more like an actual answer instead of like just kind of speculating as much as we have. Why are you laughing so much, Larry?
Larry's losing it right now.
Oh, bro. It's just, this is the extent of like what we got to do. I've always said this. This is the extent of what we got to. We got to say he's the smartest person in the show. We got to say that he knows about blood. We got to say that he has a body that could take 3 hearts. We got to say like he has Conqueror's hockey. Like, it's just like we always have to keep saying he has things and it's never confirmed. And everybody just keeps building on the headcanon further and further. And I feel like the simplest answer is in our face. It's the Yami Yami.
It definitely is.
Like, literally, if he had a body that can steal hearts and put it inside himself, that means he would not require the Yami Yami at all. All right? Overall, that means he already has that ability. But when we meet Blackbeard and he's fighting Ace, he tells Ace, I would have quit pirating if I never found the Yami Yami no Mi sooner or later. I would have just quit. So if he had all this from the get, why would he even need the Yami Yami to do anything? And this is where it comes into play. I think realistically, it's just the Yami Yami, yo. That's it. That's really all it is. The Yami Yami has the abilities of doing a lot of the craziness that we think is happening with him. It's just like he said, it's the most amazing devil fruit or the most powerful devil fruit of all. And that's cool. But that's probably the reason why.
So here's my only rebuttal to this, is that if the Yami Yami had these powers, the world government would definitely know, because the Yami Yami was in the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia, meaning that they wouldn't have been surprised when Blackbeard started using the power. So it's like
the government be messing up all the time. Like, yo, when have they ever done anything right?
I mean, I don't know.
Let's just say they had to have done something right. They've been able to keep power for like 1,000 years. They've been doing something.
But that's during oppression, right? Like they oppress everybody. That's easy to do when you're in power. It's easy to do when you have money. It's easy to do when you have freaking admirals at your disposal to destroy any island possible. You know what I'm saying? But when it realistically, I could bring something else up, right? Like, for example, Vegapunk. He said he was able to use the powers of Paramecius through blood. He was able to duplicate the bloodline lineage or bloodline elements through, Zoan devil fruits, right? But he couldn't really replicate Logias. And I think that's where it comes into play. Like, everybody wants to think that these mythical Zoans are at the top of the level now. I think it's still Logias. Like, I think Logias have always been top tier in devil fruits, and they still are. And this is the reason why Blackbeard is allowed to do some of the things that he does. The biggest question is if he can awaken. If this devil fruit can awaken, what else can it do? And that's the most dangerous part of Blackbeard's ability, I believe, is that when we find out what these Logia abilities are like awakened, it's going to change the game entirely. And I'm waiting for that moment with Kizaru for him to show us.
I think I think that Punk Hazard gave us a very small preview with Akainu versus Aokiji, and I think that the effects that happen on Punk Hazard are from Logia Awakening. So, like, imagine like a light Logia, like
turn everything to nothing.
Insane. I know, like, but here's the interesting thing. Actually, no, I'm so glad you brought that up, Larry. I'm so glad that you brought up the light Logia Awakening.
Thank you.
Kowtow, bow. But there is a very interesting thing that was said in One Piece, and it was basically that Kizaru made the statement that light is weight. And it's like, he's like, have you ever been kicked at light speed? And it's like, it was this huge, impactful kick. And it's very interesting because in real life, when you start traveling closer to the speed of light, like, you have to be very thin. Like you basically, the faster you go, the less gravity can impact you and the lighter you become. And so when you're light speed, you're basically weightless. It's very weird that in the One Piece universe, the closer to light you go, the more force you have. Like, the more force and almost weight you have. Almost as if gravity impacts you more when you're going at that speed, which is interesting because I'm wondering if Kizaru's light has like technical mass, and it's like it's again with that thing with like those levels of consciousness where it's like it's one of the reasons why One Piece characters can go so fast and can react at such speeds, like with Haki, because like even light itself has consciousness, and like being able to manipulate that would allow you to basically keep like increase its weight and like it have weight. Which I just very, very small tidbit, but I think that like when Kizaru awakens, he's going to turn Egghead into just a ball of light, and it is going to be so heavy that it sinks into the ocean. Which also might go into my theory of what happened to Atlantis. Link in bio, guys. Go check out the video. It's a great video about Laugh Tale to Atlantis.
Always be plugging.
Always be plugging. That's right.
But that's what makes Logia so dangerous.
And I agree, and I think that is my theory of what happens at the end of Egghead, is that Egghead gets pushed into the ocean because Kizaru turns the entire island to light, and it gets so heavy that it sinks.
Do you think that his light could affect living things? Do you think people can turn into light?
You know, it's really interesting because I think that the only person that we've seen who's been able to affect other people are like paramecia users. You know what I mean? And only certain paramecia users. Because there's like multiple types. There's like the producing type, and then there's like the weird like offshoot types. But it's like, I think that I made a thing once that Luffy's Devil Fruit is all three types of Devil Fruits in one. It has the Logia type transformation. It has the Paramecia type with its manipulation, especially with humans. And technically, it's a Logia type as well because he turns into rubber. And could probably like have something with that and can affect like the terrain around him. And that technically his devil fruit has the properties of all three fruits. And I think that that's what really distinguishes Paramecia devil fruits from Logia is the ability to affect other humans. So I would assume probably not, and it's limited to just their surroundings. But even still, like I think Logia devil fruits are the most powerful. We were told that in the beginning of the series. We've gotten like Logias. It was like Logias in the beginning. Then it was like Paramecias and then Zoans, and then it kind of went like Paramecia, Zoan, and it's gonna go back to Logias, and we're gonna find out once and for all. Like, yeah, it's he got that dog in him. He's that guy. He is that guy.
So do you think that if he turns everything that's not alive into light, you're just gonna see like Vegapunk's brain just like fall from where the egg was and go right into the ocean? And if so, do you think he becomes dumb then?
No, I think overall he still has whatever he has tied to him. Like I feel like Vegapunk is always gonna have a backup plan.
Yeah, like it'll just get transferred to like his main body, and he won't be able to store stuff. Maybe I do think that all of the information Vegapunk collected will be lost to the ocean. Like I think that the ancient robot is going to get lost in the sea, and I think that like everything in Punk records and all of his research up until now will be destroyed. And I think it's gonna set him off, and that's gonna be one of the reasons why he like actually joins Luffy. And like becomes part of like the Straw Hat Alliance or like the revolutionaries and against that because the world government just like trashes just like everything he does.
So I think that's pretty interesting. I really do want to see Kizaru's awakening. I think it would be perfect that he would be the first one that we would see awakened at least, you know, in real time, besides for seeing Akainu and Aokiji's awakening after the fact. So I'm really interested in it. But that I kind of wanted to segue into back to Kuma actually, and what I believe is what Kuma is dealing with right now, since we're back on talking about Egghead. So I had a theory that Kuma is actually masterminding what is happening right now in a way. So I think that similar to Vegapunk, I think that Vegapunk was able to do what he did by removing his brain, putting it into Punk Records, and being able to do that. But I think that he also did something similar with Kuma. So I think that when Kuma made the deal with him after the atrocities on Ohara, and he was found out to be a revolutionary, I think the deal was that he would take Kuma, who was a specific race. He was able to possibly duplicate him in a way to make the pacifistas, and they use Kuma's original brain almost like a blueprint for AI. Because as we see with like the pacifistas and stuff like that, it's almost like they studied how Kuma was reacting. Like we got to see him on Thriller Bark where he was still sentient, he was still able to think, and he was still able to move. And it's almost like when they were doing that, they were recording and kind of like getting the blueprint for how the algorithm should work when a pacifista is attacking and stuff like that using Kuma's body. And then they use that to make the pacifista software to power the others. And almost like Kuma's brain would be the hub for all the pacifistas and how they act. And that's why I think Vegapunk was like, I can't revert him back to who he was anymore, to Bonnie, because he's still playing a role almost as like this, you know, this guiding mechanism for the pacifistas and possibly even the seraphims, or at least his own seraphim. And then I was thinking, well, if he knows what's happening around the world because of the pacifistas, like basically whenever it was all just like really interesting timing. So it's like the Seraphim was on the boat with CP0 when they were like, we're going to Egghead, we're killing Dr. Vegapunk, and we're killing Bonnie. Like, we're going to take them both out. And so as that happened, we flashed to Kamabaka Queendom. All of a sudden, the Kuma robot that was originally Kuma freaks out. And all of a sudden, we think is heading towards Egghead. But no, it's not. It's heading to the red line. It's heading back to Marie-Joie. But then, at the same time, you have Garp, who is taking away Marines from the G14 base and taking them over to Pirate Island to fight Blackbeard. Then you have Kuma show up at the red line. He's attacking. Who is the main force in Marie-Joie that should be basically, who's the shield of the Celestial Dragons? CP0. Where are they? They're at Egghead. And now, all of a sudden, the defenses went down, and all of a sudden, CP0 is trapped in Egghead. Now, you have an admiral heading to Egghead, which means that basically all the Marine forces are all scattered in all these individual different ways, and it's lessened the security around the world so that revolutions can happen and wars can break out. So what if Kuma is somehow masterminding what will lead to end of series war by making Marie-Joie basically not protected, and the revolutionaries can start taking back these islands all around, and then you would just have all your forces divided in this very intricate way in which some things are being targeted, but a lot of it is being left just unguarded. And so I'm just like, the way I'm thinking of it is like, what if Kuma is masterminding the possibility of dividing the Marines' forces and the world government's forces so thin that they're able to do these things? Like, if you have Kizaru coming to Egghead and have, some of the forces are being diverted from Egghead to go help Garp, then that means there's less forces that are going to be on Egghead, which means that there's a higher success rate for Vegapunk to escape. Then you have, sure, it's fine that Garp goes over and tries to fight Blackbeard because that's less Marines that are other places to be able to take over and basically start revolutions there. Then you have Marie-Joie, who's now open, and basically the only thing that they have there, and we don't even know if they've made it back yet, is maybe an admiral or two, but maybe they might be busy doing other stuff too because they're still trying to hunt down warlords that have evaded them, like Crocodile and Mihawk, or maybe even still trying to find Boa. Like, there's just so much going on at one time that it's spreading the force so thin that there might be an avenue for all of this to backfire on the world government, and they're going to have to pull everything back to even be able to handle what's happening at the home front. So I just think it's very interesting that all this is kind of happening in a very intricate way to basically make everyone's like the world government and the Marines forces just almost non-existent to being so thin that even regular rebellions can break through.
Do you know anything about the fall of Rome and what happened, like leading up to the events? So basically, what happens in the fall of Rome? And I think that One Piece it mirrors what happens there. Is that basically that they had too much territory and they were spreading their forces too thin, and it's like they continuously tried to get more and more territory, as they were going along, and then all of a sudden, like, outside rebellions started to come in. Now, is this the Giants, Wano, other countries that aren't really a part of the world government? Like, these were like the Nordic invaders coming in with Rome, but like there were all these other things, and it's like Rome is known as one of the great empires. It lasted a pretty decent amount of time. It had some of the best like military strength, but it's like as you kind of go along, you see more incompetencies take place and more corruption. And I think that the reason that the world government seems so inept, and it's like the reason that it seems like, oh, they keep taking L's, is because very slowly, and we've seen this throughout the series, corruption has started to take place, where we saw with Axe and Morgan, we saw with a lot of the other Marines, the one in Nami's town that was taking bribes, like all of these little things lead up to the Marines not being able to control their empires, and that's going to lead to rebellion. So it's like as time goes on, their control is slipping because they basically went too far in the opposite direction. And Ragnar sent me something really interesting one time, and it was an excerpt of Kant. And he was basically talking about you can either have like order or you can have freedom. And you really can't have one or the other. And Kant was a philosopher that dealt in absolutes. And you've probably heard of like Kantian philosophy. Like it doesn't matter the reason, all that matters is the action. And basically he was talking about how freedom devolves into true chaos and how order is like you must like follow, but like that could also lead to people like abusing their power. So it's like you need to find basically somebody who you can trust. He mentions God in a lot of his stuff. Like if you read anything else than Kant, like he was a true believer in God, and like that's where he got a lot of his stuff. And it's like, well, you have to believe what God says and what the Bible says and stuff. But in One Piece, what's really interesting is that you have that side of freedom with Luffy and with Blackbeard, and you kind of see what happens when freedom kind of goes too far. And then you have the world government, and you kind of see where order like goes too far and goes into corruption and subjugation and hierarchy. And you have these two opposing forces clashing, and it's almost like a pendulum swing where it goes like up one is like order and subjugation and hierarchy to the other side, which is freedom. And it kind of needs to just go right into the middle. And I think that by the end of One Piece, you're right. Like right now, the pendulum swung, and it went from as we saw throughout the series, it was like over here, and it's like the world government has control. And as it's swinging back, it kind of goes way far in the opposite direction. So like the world government now, like they're making their move, but it's like they're dividing up their power. There's even more revolutionaries. There are more threats than ever. And it's like this is going to be chaos, which will then eventually lead to freedom. Because it'll eventually swing back into the other direction and hopefully meet at the middle. So looking at the themes of One Piece and looking at where the story is right now, yes, I think that that's exactly what's happening. I think we're quite literally seeing the fall of Rome, but with funny cartoon characters.
Yeah. So I hear all of you guys too about this, and I don't know. When I saw it, I was just like, this is definitely something that Vegapunk happened to do, because if something were to happen to him or something overall, the deal that he made with Dragon when he first started the Freedom Fighters, technically, they had a goal. They had something that they wanted to do together, and he reminded Dragon to be mindful of that goal. So whatever deal he has with Kuma, I don't know if Dragon knows necessarily everything that him and Kuma talked about, but most likely it's for the protection of that idea or that goal that him and Dragon first came up with when they met on O'Hara after it was destroyed. So I thought Kuma was going to Egghead, but now it looks like it's a failsafe. So if something happens to me, you're going to do this. This is the program. Follow it. Whatever algorithm comes about it, follow it as well. And then most likely he'll go to Egghead after if he doesn't get captured. So I have nothing. Like even when me and Chestnut were talking about it when we first read it, I had nothing, yo. I still have nothing. I don't know what the hell's going on with Kuma. All I know is we better get some damn answers, and I need it soon, because this Kuma plotline has lasted way too long. It's been a minute, yo. Since we saw him on Thriller Bark, then he became super interesting during Sabaody Archipelago, and then when we came back, you know, after the time skip, he was just chilling there too. There's something there, and I need this to be fleshed out. And if it's not fleshed out in a good way, yo, Oda gonna take this L hard, bro. All right? I'm tired of letting Oda slide, man. I don't let him slide like other people. Like, I can choose to be like, yo, this guy is greatness, but like he wasn't great on this part. And there's characters like that for me. It's Shanks, Blackbeard, Kuma, and you know, listen, bro, Rocks better go mad hard too. But it's also Mihawk. Like there's characters in the in the series where he's hyped them up and held on to them close to his chest for so long that you've literally now made us fantasize about these guys. And like it better be freaking worth it, because if Kuma turns out to be like a dud, I don't know, man. I might drop One Piece. Y'all could take over the show if you want.
But I think that I'm a firm believer in Oda will do it in his time. And I understand, like, you can critique Oda, obviously. He's not perfect by any means. But, like, again and again, I feel like he serves something up in a way that I'm like, yo, that kind of blows, man. Like, I want more. Like, how are you just going to tease us with that? And then, like, a few hundred chapters later, we get something, but it's so well done. Like, I mean, it is tough though. Like, the patience is exactly what Oda wants from us, and sometimes I don't feel like giving it to him. I'm like, yo, just tell me now. Like, I don't want to have to wait. Like, just like a lot of the stuff is with Blackbeard. Like, he's supposed to be this antithesis of Luffy, and we're waiting forever for it to fully flush out to be like, you know, like even now, like, you know, Garp dying possibly, and then Luffy being like, yo, Blackbeard's gonna get the smoke the minute I see him. Like, that type of stuff is something that we've been waiting for so long. And it's like, you have to wait for that payoff. The payoff's gonna be great, but sometimes it just feels like we're just always waiting for that next payoff because there's so much that is up in the air. And like, we sometimes a chapter will answer like 5 things but give us like 10 more questions, and we're like, damn it, like we haven't gotten there yet. But I think Kuma's story will pay off. And like, there was a part of me, like, obviously I absorb a lot of content from like TikTok, YouTube, and stuff like that. I see a lot of people being like, yo, it's the real Kuma that's actually on Egghead that answered the phone, and it would have gave it away if he would have answered, like if we would have seen the Den Mushi of real Kuma. I don't believe that, but that would be super interesting too, because it wouldn't really go with like, you know, Vegapunk saying like, hey, I can't give him back now. Like, but that's why I think that they're like, his brain is in a jar somewhere, and it's like controlling all these things behind the scenes. And that's why he can't return him back to normal, is because like all these pacifistas and stuff like that, and even his main body have something that they're doing. And it's all through Kuma and how he wants to do things. And Kuma probably came to Vegapunk, and it probably wasn't part of Dragon's original plan. And maybe Dragon doesn't have that much knowledge. That's why they went to Marie Joie and took back Kuma's original body. Because it wouldn't make sense if Dragon knew the plan, took Kuma's body, brought it to Kamabaka Queendom, just for it to fly its happy ass back to Marie Joie just to do the same thing. Like, it was already there. So that's why I'm thinking that it's more of a Kuma Vegapunk mastermind plan. And like, that's why I think it's so good if Kuma is pulling the strings in this way, where he's able to seal CP0 inside of Egghead and then blow shit up in Marie Joie and make them get called back there, but they can't even go because they're getting dealt with by the Straw Hats. And then you have an admiral who's about to roll up to Egghead, but maybe because CP0 can't actually go back to Marie Joie to help, then maybe Kizaru's pulled back from Egghead and he's not able to attack, and therefore the Straw Hats escape with almost zero problem. Like, there's just so much that can happen there, and I feel like I think we could get Kuma back together as a whole eventually, because I've always like theorized that eventually if you take Kuma and his brain and you're able to put, you know, his brain back into his body, and then if you take them to Dressrosa, Mansherry's tears should immediately heal all of Kuma and turn him back to his original state. So that was my thought on that, and I think we could get that, and then Kuma and Bonnie can actually have a happy ending if that's what's going to happen. But I just feel like there's so much that's happening, and it's pointing to me like there's not, like, some people think that there's like Lilith is a traitor. I think I heard you talk about that on one of your TikToks, Tanuki. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that she is, for some reason. I think that it was maybe Kuma masterminding the dropping of the shield and luring them in to seal them in with the Straw Hats. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot going on there, and I think that Kuma is deep down, I mean, he might be very intelligent and be able to be that, head satellite that controls the rest. And it would be very interesting to see, like, we were showed like the hierarchy of like the command chips and who can order everything, and the Gorosei are at the top. But wouldn't it be very interesting to see if there's maybe someone above them and that's actually Kuma's brain that's ordering everything? I don't know. I think it could happen. But I don't know.
Yeah.
What do I know?
I think it could. I think it's a solid theory. I'm very impartial to Lilith is the betrayer, as she was in the Bible. But that's just my theory. I feel like I've talked about that a lot. Like I feel like when I was on like the thing with Larry, like that's all I was saying, and he's like, "Yo, we didn't even read the chapter yet."
Right before you got into Kobe versus Virgo, and then it just went crazy.
Dude, don't bring up that disgusting.
I won't. I'm not even gonna bring up where I land on that.
Yeah, everybody knows she was bugging, bro.
Bruh, nah, you were tripping.
Everybody knows she was bugging, bro.
Bruh, absolutely tripping. Well, let's do a poll in the Discord.
You're gonna lose, Chestnut.
Oh yeah, am I? You think so?
Yes.
Absolutely not. I don't care how many people love you, Larry. There's no way.
I will say,
I think they love you more than me. I'm gonna just say that.
the funniest part was when she started freaking out on the people in the chat. It was just like, it's fan behavior, and I won't allow it.
Yeah.
That shit had me dying.
Yeah, bro.
I got the best quotes. Not gonna lie. Hashtag Shank Sheep.
Shank Sheep is great.
Shank Sheep is fantastic. It's one of my favorites.
I wish I would have had you in when we were on the DDT, and I said that Jinbei beats Shanks in water, underwater.
Listen, y'all be on the same wavelength, bro. Y'all be wilding out.
Nah, man.
I still stand by it.
I agree. What is Shanks shown in the water? What are his water feats?
Yeah.
Show it to me.
Jinbei has more water feats.
Again, name one fishman that has won underwater against anybody in the entire series.
Actually, interesting. I don't think we've really seen too many fish. I mean, the only fishman fight we've actually seen underwater was Horty Jones.
We also technically, what was it? One of Arlong's douchey henchmen. He got kicked right in the face, and then Sanji jumped on his back and then breathed air in his gills and then made him pass out. And then he beat his ass on land afterwards. So,
yeah,
fishmen have not taken many W's.
Yeah,
in the
correct
water.
answer is none.
Well, technically, if we want to talk about off-screen fights, the Jinbei Pirates versus the Big Mom Pirates. So, there is that.
They didn't win. They just ran underwater.
They won that fight. What do you mean?
They went underwater. They went underwater.
They won. They had to go
like,
and fight him back.
We held them off long enough. Now let's just go super deep.
That's a win.
Happened.
Is that not a win? Is that not a win?
No.
Did they not accomplish their goals?
They didn't.
Accomplishing their goals?
Yeah, they did. They did accomplish their goals. Yeah, they accomplished their goals. But they didn't win, though. They didn't win.
A fishman W, okay?
Yeah, sometimes you gotta run away, you know? That's usually what happens with Blackbeard, so.
Dude,
hey, I mean,
all of them.
Luffy runs away a lot too. Like he had to. Like he had to run away from Katakuri just so he could get his hockey back up to be able to fight.
I began on Luffy too, bro.
Oh man, One Piece is just a lot of people running.
I began on Luffy too.
That is the only thing. It's either running towards the person that they're going, running away from the big baddie, or just running around in general because they don't know where they are.
Listen, I've got on Luffy plenty of times, bro. It's just that nobody really comes at Luffy the way... Nobody has the ability to make up things about Luffy the way they make up about everybody else because there's so much material. But Luffy hasn't won a fight post time skip since like Hoodie and Caesar. Every other time he's lost, bro. He's always needed help or something like that. He's always had to run away. So I'll be giving him that same
To be fair,
type of.
Flamingo, he didn't run away. He was actually trying to run towards him the whole time. And then there was like a little moment where like his hockey, where I guess he kind of ran away. Moment. He went back.
He literally told somebody to put him on his back and to run away for like 10 minutes so he could recharge.
Yeah, that's so funny.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, Kuma's situation should be handled correctly. I have faith it will be, but listen, man, it's been a very long time that Oda's been like off paneling things. So I'm hoping that we don't get too many off panels.
I'm hoping that they're on paneling. That's what I need. Where's the on panel?
Yeah, like take your time. You know, One Piece is not ending in 5 years anyway, so absolutely. I don't know why he's lying for.
He really is. He really always.
I really said that too, because like as soon as he was like, yeah, I'm looking to end it in like 5 years, I was like, this motherfucker lying for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. I was like, I'm looking at 7 to 10 years tops. And then he came out at the Jump Fest and was like, it's gonna be longer. Don't worry about it. I'm like, exactly.
Yeah, he be lying his ass off, man. I be saying it all the time. Oda be lying all the time. You already know, bro.
You need to get that trademarked and put that on a TOP t-shirt.
Listen, bro, the shirts, everything coming soon. We're just setting it up with Amazon. We're gonna try to do it that way.
Oh, that's dope.
Still no commission. Shake my head.
Shush! I'm gonna talk to you soon. No, there's so much, man. There's so much going on.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just joshing with you. I'm not joshing with you on any of the Blackbeard stuff, but with that I am.
Yeah. So like the affiliation program's coming soon too.
Yo, let's go.
So the way I was researching it, it looks pretty cool. There's so much business aspect mumbo jumbo that goes behind it. Because overall, like that's technically what it is at a certain point, but it's gonna be dope. I think everybody's gonna enjoy it. I don't think nobody's gonna have to pay or anything like that, which is gonna be cool. So it's gonna be like so far what I have planned or what I've thought about and looked at everything else is that we're gonna provide like a special course or something like that. And it's going to be about social media. And then obviously after it's completed, you get like the courtesy of having like the top like 4 letters in your name when you go on social media or something like that. And then you just, you post according to like however much you're supposed to. And then that's it. Other than that, usually they have like people pay to do this shit, but I'm like, bro, I'm never going to charge for something that's like what?
Yeah, because I'm going to just start saying all this Blackbeard stuff, and they're going to be like, you're affiliated with Larry and TOPT, and you're saying that Blackbeard is the hottest character in One Piece?
So it'd be like FaZe Clan type of thing.
Oh my gosh. I want to be FaZe.
You know what I'm saying?
Can I be FaZe?
Like, it would
FaZe Top?
It would be basically like that. Like it would be like, even if you start gaming and shit like that, like you'd be able to rock it and it would work like a FaZe thing.
That's actually pretty sick. TBH.
Yeah. Weird. It's too much, bro.
Little promo right here. Ooh.
Nah, it's just how that shit works. Like it's crazy. It's just you got to take everything up a notch. Every month, every year, you got to do something.
Building an empire.
Yeah, I would like to.
TOPT merchandise. TOPT children books. TOPT the movie.
I think we'll be at Comic-Con for sure with a panel this year.
Really?
Yeah, trying to work that out.
That's it.
You're gonna see like us 4 just arguing mad loud. Me wanting to punch Sebastian. It's gonna be crazy.
That'd be dope. I liked going to Comic-Con. It sucked that you guys were going on Thursday. I went on Sunday.
Yeah, that wasn't purpose. That was Par, Hidden, and Mosh wanted to go on Thursday because Roger Base, Randy Troy was going to be there, and like JD Legend, I think. So we only went because that was the days that they were showing up on. and like it wasn't as busy. And I think One Piece was having something special during that day, and it ended up being the film Red premiere, which I had no idea until we got there. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, Fridays and Saturdays I heard like super crazy.
Sundays were pretty crazy too, just because they had like slightly condensed hours, so everyone was just trying to get in as much as they possibly could. So it was pretty packed.
Yeah, it was lit though. It was lit.
Yeah,
I had fun.
It was awesome. I got to meet Straw Hat Goofy while we were there. I love him on TikTok, so I got to meet him while we were there. That was really cool. I gave him one of my emblems because like I had Nerdtaku stickers made, and on the back they had QR codes to my TikTok. I was handing them out to people.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Yo,
super
like
cool.
the people in New York. Would you like my mixtape? You want to listen to my mixtape?
So
I got hit with that one time and I bought it. I still have the CD because I'm like, I was like, I can't get rid of this. I like paid money for it, and I'm like, I don't even have a CD player anymore. Like, how am I supposed to listen to this?
So we saw Straw Hat Goofy. I had no idea who he was when I saw him. We saw him at the Red film premiere, and then I said what's up to him. But it's funny because I saw something he posted on TikTok, and it was regarding him doing like the Gear 2 stance. He was doing the Gear 2 stance, and he had like the Luffy cosplay on and stuff like that. And then somebody in the comment said, "Oh snap, he's going full body hockey." And then he created a whole TikTok like video regarding like how like that's like a racist comment and like this and that. And I was like, I commented under the top shit, and I was like, "Yo, I'm not gonna cap. That was funny as fuck."
Bro, you're gonna get canceled. I think I saw your comment, and people underneath were like, "Not a good look."
They were like, "Yo, bro, we follow you. Like, what the fuck?" And I'm like, "Bro, we're a podcast filled with like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could like that's funny. Like that was a funny. I was like, yo, you being too serious. I was like, no, that was actually a good joke. That was a good joke to me. But
so the one that made me be like, okay, that was in poor taste was like really putting the monkey in Monkey D. Luffy. I was like, that is so far,
so that
dude.
one is bad.
That was too far.
Right,
that was too far.
That one was bad. That one was bad for sure. But I think the full body hockey one was hilarious. That one was funny. And I was like, yo, I was like, bro, if somebody said that about me, I'd start laughing. I'd be like, yo, that actually is funny. The monkey part was too much though. That was off. That was like,
that was I was like,
you can't do that. You can't do that. That's stupid.
Like, boom, canceled.
Yo, but they were going wild over those type of comments. But the all body hockey comment was like that didn't deserve hate the way it got it. I thought that was it because I showed Sebastian, and Sebastian was cracking up, bro, straight up laughing. So.
Yo,
it's whatever.
It's so
I'm
funny.
Gonna get canceled, bro. It's gonna be that or my transgender comments.
Bro.
Yeah, that might do it.
Yeah. I'm not associated with Larry when he talks about this stuff. Just so everybody knows, I'm not.
Yeah, Monkey D. Shin.
Bro, I'm a little too much of the Caucasian equation to talk about. So.
True.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm stepping back. You can say whatever you want, Larry.
Yeah, I'm also gonna do that.
Listen, man, it's funny. Yeah, I can say it's funny, man. I think it's not an issue. They're like, nah.
Bro, Larry, I didn't say that.
I'm kind of like, have you seen? Like, a little too much over here.
I'm a
just get
palm,
a tan, man.
Dude, I am a palm-colored individual. I am not about to say what you're saying.
I'm about to go over into the desert and be the same color as everything else.
Listen, that was my experience with him. But we spoke to Matt Owens during the Reverie a little bit, and he was talking about how the Netflix adaptation is going to be pretty good. I told him no, it's not. I told him no, it's not, but we'll see.
What? I think it's gonna be really good.
We'll see.
The One Piece live action is genuinely gonna be really cool. Like even if it's not like the perfect like story representation, it's gonna look great.
I think the ships are gonna be amazing. I think that's the one thing that they nailed for sure.
Nah,
But One Piece is weird, man. It's very cartoony. That's the thing. Like there's a lot of aspects that would feel weird in real life. It's not like Full Metal Alchemist or like Death Note, and they ruin those, and those are not as cartoony, you know?
So the one thing that they need to do with it, especially with Luffy's stretching power, is they can't make it look like real. Like as soon as he starts stretching, just change his hand to like a red. Like when he starts stretching, like just make it like a solid color, like instead of like skin color, because it's gonna look really weird if he does it. And I think if they do that and they take it a little bit more cartoony, or they make it like look more cartoony, it'll be okay. If they try to do realism, it's gonna look like the Fantastic Four movies. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like the
yeah, like I don't know. I watched like the CW's Flash, and they had like elongated man, and like he would stretch, and it would look like just. I feel like they were just maybe like a few $100s short of actually making it look good. So I was like, I think they can do it, like with as big of a budget as Netflix is giving it. I think they have the ability to do it, and I think they have the ability to do it well. It's just getting it to that place is tough. But like, I don't know. I've seen like the actors for Zoro and like Sanji, and like them doing like fight choreography with like the sword in the mouth and like the kicks, and it all looks so good. So it's like, I have high hopes, because like I feel like Oda looking over it gives me a little bit more peace of mind that it's going to be done right, because I feel like with like the live action version of like the Avatar with like M. Night Shyamalan and like all these other live actions, without the actual like creators looking over it, it just like it could go to a weird place. Like even Cowboy Bebop, like the original creator I don't even think he's alive anymore. So like it's all left in Netflix's hands to just kind of take it and run with it. And
yeah,
I
that
just
was
don't
pretty
think
good.
they did a good job. It was okay. It didn't really stick. I thought it was
dude,
all right.
look at Larry. Look at him. He's like, I was like, I thought that was really good, actually. What do you guys say?
Good. I thought it was pretty good.
It was all right at best, I believe. It was just okay. Like,
oh my gosh.
if you tell me Avatar or like Dragon Ball Evolution was good, we're gonna have a problem.
No, it wasn't good. When I did watch the first the Avatar Last Airbender live action, I did think it was good. But that's also because I never watched the anime series at all.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, this movie's kind of cool, yo.
You're like, Ong is so cool, and Sokka.
Oh.
Oh man, dude, I left that more heated than like the most that you and Seb get on the show. I was so mad. I was ready to ask for my money back. I was so mad.
Damn.
I was pissed.
Wow.
It's like, how dare you? Like, this isn't. You should take the name off this, like right away.
Man.
Yeah, man.
It was not good.
You shouldn't ask Leo about this. He'd probably be like, well, actually, could you imagine? Kid Leo? His avatar takes her a while.
Yo, me and him got beef, yo. It's not even about anime no more. It's just Among Us, bro. We got beef now.
Yo, that was funny.
That dude did me so wrong last night.
But this conversation got derailed real quick.
Yeah. So let's try and quick get back on.
My bad.
That was funny though. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was Crocodile and what role I believe he plays in the future and how we learn about his past. Because I truly believe, like I feel like I have a solid theory, and I brought this to Tachi, and he like none of them could really disprove it. So I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like I don't know. So I'll just come out with it, and I feel like I talked to Larry on the podcast before about this, but this might be Chestnut's first time hearing this, but I think Crocodile is actually Roger's daughter turned man. And the reason I believe this is there's several panels that I think portray that, but again, it comes down to like what we know about Crocodile. So like we know that Crocodile went into the New World at some point. We know that Crocodile has a hidden secret that Ivankov has. And for any secret of Ivankov, and like a lot of people are just like taking it to like that weird Croco mom theory, and I'm not about that life. But I think that he was a she, and I think that it's also shown in the way that he models his Baroque works like organization. So every character in Baroque works has an identifier of gender. So you have like Mr. One, you have, Miss All Sunday, you have Miss Wednesday, you have, all of them have like an identifier. And what's really interesting with Crocodile being kind of like a mob boss, even though he is kind of like what I would assume is kind of like a huge jackass that wouldn't care about anything, he still gives credence to Mr. Two being both kind of genders and not giving him a partner. So it's like he still has like a respect for people's gender in a way that almost seems like he has too much emphasis on. So I think that would lead me to believe that he was once a woman. And with Ivankov saying that he knows his secret, to me, that means that eventually he came to her as a she and wanted that transition. And it's done even more so in chapter 0 when we see Roger's execution. We see the back of Crocodile, but we don't see the front. Meaning that at that time, Crocodile could have been a woman. And I think that it could be even deeper than that, meaning that Crocodile was crying at Roger's death because he was losing, or she was losing her father. And like even in the cover story, in fact, I'm going to bring it up, even in the cover story where we get to see Baroque Works is in prison after they got beat by Luffy, and you get to see that they make an escape. And when they go to the escape in chapter 404, the cover story is Miss Golden Week using her power to show everyone's true dream and true self. So when she does this, people turn into what they want to be, like what their ideal dream or the ideal version of themselves. So like she is obviously a painter because that's her thing, is painting. And then like the Miss Pointy Finger or whatever her name is, Double Finger, is a bartender, and so on and so forth. But when you get to see what Crocodile transforms into, he transforms into the King of the Pirates. He literally is wearing exactly what Roger wore. And I think that pays like homage to the fact that this is the person that originally wanted to fulfill Roger's dream of becoming King of the Pirates. And it's super interesting because when we get Odin's flashback and they talk about being too early, Roger says like, oh, I wonder who will find it. And then he says, oh, that'd be my son, of course. And Rayleigh says, you don't have one. And it's like, it means to imply that he may have had a kid, but maybe he didn't stick around long enough to learn if it was a boy or girl. And that's where I think that he might have done that in his early pirate years and, left someone, because it's not crazy in the One Piece world to think that a parent would leave their children, and basically left his, impregnated woman, and they came out and they were a girl. And then what do? They want to fulfill their dad's prophecy and dream by basically turning into a man and being the son that fulfills their dad's dream. and to pay even more close attention to the way Crocodile acts. So in Marineford, we have a huge, and I mean huge, setup for this. One, we know that Crocodile lost his hand, and we know that he also got, or she got, a scar across their face. And we think that that's from Whitebeard, and that's why I'm like, it makes more sense to me that Crocodile was Roger's kid, because he wanted to go against someone who originally went against his father, you know, that old rivalry, and then they just happened to take a little bit more than they bargained for in that way, and then forced him back into the Grand Line where he eventually met Luffy. But he also wanted to gather ancient weapons, and I think ancient weapons do play a significant role in what has to happen with the One Piece once you get it. So I think that Crocodile knew that and was working towards that goal by being in Alabasta and trying to find Nico Robin, and found Nico Robin eventually, and then got her in his organization and was using her to read the poneglyphs so that way he could find the ancient weapons and then fulfill that prophecy after he became Pirate King. And even more to that point is when they showed up to Marineford after the whole Impel Down thing, he went after Whitebeard because he wants his lick back. But afterwards, he was fighting alongside Whitebeard and even went as far as to save Ace, because at Marineford is when he found out that Ace was actually Roger's son. So that would be his half brother. Otherwise, he has no reason to save Ace whatsoever. Like, not even a little bit. But if he had that familial connection, to me, it makes sense that Crocodile would try to preserve that. So, in essence, saving Ace. Then, once Ace was, obviously dealt with, we have the moment where, Jinbei is about to be destroyed by Akainu. And what happens? Crocodile steps in, saves Luffy and Jinbei, two people who he owes nothing to. And in fact, he should hate Luffy for all the shit that he did to him in taking him out of Alabasta and beating his ass. Like, to me, I would be like, yo, if that guy's gonna die, I do not care. That's perfect for me. Like, but yet he somehow went and saved him for some reason. And it was almost like he lost his brother in that moment, but he's doing exactly what the Whitebeard pirates wanted to do in saving Luffy, because they know that that's like what Ace wanted. So he's fulfilling that, the promise that, his brother wanted to fulfill by making sure that Luffy was safe. Otherwise, I feel like there's no reason why Crocodile would even want to save Luffy, to me at least. So, what are your thoughts?
There is a very big flaw with your theory, and that's the ages. And Crocodile's age doesn't really match up. Like, there was a theory that I think Ragnar came up with, that like Robin could have been the daughter of Roger. And even then, the age thing is like kind of bad. He's too old, and he would have been on adventure back then. Like, there's no way that Roger could have a daughter or son as old as Crocodile is. Like, if you actually look at the timeline of when Roger was sailing and when he was doing this stuff, it also, so to a couple of the points that you made, to the one point where you were talking about, like Roger talking about a son, he was talking about Ace, and we saw this through the stuff, is that he had already laid with Portgas, the whatever Ace's mom is, and she had held the child for long. Yeah, Rouge. And it's like, that was like, that lines up with that. And it's like, because Ace wasn't born with, it was, and because they said, oh well, you don't have a son, it was very clear that was the implication there, and that matches up with the timeline rather than with Crocodile, because Crocodile doesn't match up with the timeline. It would also not make very much sense why nobody on the crew would know, because they were like, oh well, you don't have a son. Like they wouldn't just say that, like, because Roger said, oh, like that, like there was a child on the ship at some point. But I feel like, why would they say, oh well, you don't have a son to be a king of the pirate when Big Mom can become the king of the pirates? So I don't think there's a gender thing there. Especially because we already know that because women can become king of the pirates too, they would have just been like, oh, you mean your daughter? And that's what the line would have been. To the point of what happened at Marineford, Mihawk explained that with Luffy. He has the ability to get people onto his side, and we kind of see that with the Doflamingo and Crocodile, because Doflamingo's like, oh, come work for me, and Crocodile's like, no. And the reason that he saved Luffy is because Luffy basically, like, he respected Luffy at that point for doing all that stuff to go save his brother. Like, that was the main reason. It was out of respect for Luffy rather than a respect for Ace, who he didn't care about. He hated Whitebeard. And to the point of the scar, like what happened with Whitebeard and like his entire dream, basically, like Crocodile, and I think that there's a couple data books that you might want to link into that kind of go over that, and there's also a cover story to show that Whitebeard basically humiliated Crocodile. Like Crocodile wanted to become king of the pirates, it basically got embarrassed, and it could have been the Whitebeard event, and then basically just gave up on his dream. And it's like, that's the reason that he's no longer wanting to do it, is because he gave up on his dream rather than like the others. And it's a theme going along with all of the One Piece villains. The only thing that does support your theory is the Ivankov thing, but even then, there's no, and I know a lot of people like to think about like the gender bent thing. There's no proof that Ivankov gender bent anybody, and we already know that Ivankov works with the revolutionaries and has been working. Like Dragon would know this, Kuma would know this, like by proxy, like a lot of people would know this, like if this happened, because Ivankov would have killed Dragon or something, and they would have known that. Like the reason I think that there is a secret is because they had worked together at some point, and there's some secret thing that happened with Ivankov and Crocodile, because if you look at, so Oda also did a drawing as Crocodile as a kid, and he's a guy. Oda also did it like as gender bent Crocodile, and the picture like of the gender bent Crocodile does not match up with the Crocodile that we see at Roger's execution. So it's like,
you don't think so? I mean, we only see like the back.
Yeah, it's a completely different head shape. Like you see the back and you see the chin, and it's very square, which is like how Oda draws his men. His like a look at the back of a woman's head in One Piece compared to the back of Crocodile. It's just, I mean, you could say at that point maybe he was already turned, but it's very hard to match up the timeline with that. I personally don't like the idea of like Ivankov like having anything to do like with that with Crocodile, because I just think that there's no reason, unless it was like, the only thing is that like maybe like facial reconstruction, but at the same time like Ivankov would have done something else. Like there had to be something more than that, because what kind of secret is that? Like even if it got out, like who cares? The One Piece world doesn't really care about that. So there has to be something more to this secret rather than just like that, because at the same point, like I said, who really cares? Nobody really bats an eye at Bon Clay. What type of secret is that? Not to trash on, I'm not trashing on your theory. I'm just saying that there are things with that just don't match up.
Well, I think the timeline actually does line up, because Larry put in the chat, obviously, and I did this breakdown. I mean, he would have been 31, so I mean, he could have done that. And honestly, we only get to see a very small glimpse of when Roger actually starts pirating. We only get to see kind of like his face under a straw hat, and then he just like yells out to Rayleigh. So, and we don't really know exactly when he started pirating per se. So it could have been before then, it could have been right before then, or it could have been at a different time. Like, we're still, I don't know. I'm still not sold on that. And if we didn't see Crocodile's face and Crocodile was already a man, then what would have been the point of not showing his face if it maybe wasn't crying because of the loss of his father? I mean, I feel like there's got to be a reason why the head was turned around, because we see Doflamingo's face, we see everyone else's face except for Crocodile. Like, that's a very, very small detail, but one I think that pays, it gives us a little bit too much to think about as far as why he was turned around that way. Because we know Crocodile's face.
We do. What could have happened is that they're saving it because of what Crocodile is doing in the New World, and it could all be connected. Like, everybody wants to become king of the pirates. Like, it's not like a thing, and it's like, if Crocodile was actually the son or daughter of Gold D. Roger, the Marines would know, and the Marines would stop at nothing to kill him, as they did with Ace. And it's like he would have had the exact same issues as with Ace. Like, it's not like it's something that you can hide. Also, Roger went on. So the way that we know, at least with Roger's timeline, is that Roger started adventuring when he was like a young man and found Rayleigh, and they were both young men. Went on their adventure, had taken a break, and then went basically back on their final adventure because they couldn't find their thing. And it's like, yes, I guess you technically could say like Roger could have been that, but at the same time, like, there's no proof of like who his like anything like mom would be. And it's like, I feel like there would have been more like foreshadowing. Like, there was nothing saying that like, oh well, Roger had like this. It's like we saw what happened with the tracing of all of Roger's lineage after his death, to the point where like the only reason that Ace survived was because of Garp. There's no way that Crocodile is surviving if he's in any way related to Gold D. Roger. Like, there's no way that the world government is going to overlook that and make him a warlord. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't match up with the timelines. If he was born before Roger's death, like people would know that like, oh, there's some sort of connection. The Marines would have been after him this entire life. There's no way he could became a warlord. Afterwards, it's impossible because the timeline doesn't match up. So it would have had to have been before, meaning that the world government would have definitely been able to track down the lineage. And also, for some reason, they knew about like babies being born, meaning that it was common knowledge who was having babies and that Gold D. Roger was having a child, because they were chasing down babies to the point where Rouge had to hold her baby in. So it's like, when you're looking at the timelines like that, instead of like, oh well, it's possible he could have had a kid, it's like the world government was tracking down. The world government would have known, because they were very proficient in tracking down basically every single person who they could find and beat. They did. They found and beat them. Especially because like Crocodile basically like would have been almost defenseless at that point. Like, it's not like he had like a gigantic crew that we know of. He was very much alone. So it's like, that timeline doesn't fit. And we obviously know that he's too old to be like post-birth, like how Ace was, where it's like basically the entire existence was erased from reality. So it's like, and looking at the Ace story, like, and just like thematically, I just don't think that it could fit. Unless there's more information like in the story. It seems like a lot of speculation just because like it could possibly happen. And at the same time, like so could Robin, so could basically anybody who's slightly older could technically be. But it's like when you're looking at when he started going, when the world government started cracking down on anything related to Gold D. Roger, post Roger's death, there has to be some sort of consistency with that, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think that the world government was just, it was almost like similar to like in biblical times where they would, track down trying to basically kill, I think it was like in Egypt when they were trying to kill, all the firstborns and stuff like that. Like, it felt like very much like a witch hunt at the time. It wasn't like retroactive to like anybody who had been in contact with Roger beforehand.
Yeah,
and
it
like
was any of Roger. Like, if you actually go back and read the thing, they literally were tracking down anybody with a connection to Gold D. Roger. Like that is. So I would suggest rereading that, because that was like the entire purpose, is that anybody that Roger had ever been on an island with was being basically searched and stuff. So it's like it was a gigantic witch hunt, but any person who had contact with Roger, like, they would have known, unfortunately. So it's like, you'd have to be born post, and you'd have to be like outside of that timeline, which is why Rouge had to hold the Ace for so long because the timeline would have matched up. Unfortunately.
I feel like they couldn't have made it to every single island to do that, though. Like, the world government obviously is known for being ridiculously, like, not good at this stuff. Like, it seems like this is something that could easily fall through the cracks, similar to how Ace was. Like, Ace was being taken care of by Garp after he was born, after Rouge held him for so long. But it was like Garp offered that level of protection to Ace. And then it was like, afterwards, of course, like, the Marines weren't gonna make that move. And it wasn't common knowledge that Ace was Gold Roger's son up until the point where they released that information at Marineford. And that was Sengoku who did it to everyone that was there. And Garp was the only other person that really knew what happened. So, and Whitebeard. But, like, I feel like it's not a common knowledge thing. And, like, people fall through the cracks with the world government all the time. Like, how can you, like, I feel like, especially, like, even
definitely known. Like you could say, like, oh, well, it could have fallen through the cracks. Except, like, everybody else who had contact with Roger. Like, CP0 would have definitely known if there was. Like, I'm sorry, they're not going to make the son of Goldie Roger a warlord. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, why make him a warlord? Why give him so much power? It's like, why didn't they then go and intervene on Alabaster and continuously try to help? Like, if they knew, like they would have known the lineage then. Like, this man was going after ancient weapons. There's no way that the world government wouldn't have known. Like, he was so close to the world government that there's no possible way they couldn't have figured out, because they found out about Ace. And it's like, you can make that argument and say, well, he slipped through the cracks. A prominent figure cannot slip through the cracks in One Piece. And we've seen this. We've seen this with Kaido. We've seen this with Ace. We've seen this with Big Mom. Like, there's always going to be a CP0 member that's going on. Like, even what happened on Thriller Bark. Like, Thriller Bark was completely separated from the rest of the world, and yet the world government still knew what was going on in Sentakuma. It is a very hard argument to say, like, oh, well, the world government wouldn't have known, when it's like, they've seen so many other things. It's just kind of like, if everything perfectly lined up, perhaps, but it would also mean, like, then how could other stuff not fall out? Like, how could they have found out about Ace then? When
the thing
Ace
is, like,
didn't line up and Crocodile's would.
yeah, well, I mean, even General of 30 actually said it too. They were gonna make Ace a warlord. Like, they were going to do that. So it's like, it's not, I feel like it's not unrealistic to believe that they would make Crocodile a warlord. And I mean, if they,
like, would they let Ace go after the ancient weapon?
Why would they let anybody go after ancient weapons then? Because, like, there are many people that go after them, but, like, they don't snuff all of them out, obviously. Like, they let him basically have, like, free reign. The only time the world government actually found out that he was going for an ancient weapon was when Smoker finally radioed in and got them to basically pull up on Alabasta to even find out that he was after that.
They didn't know after it, like Smoker didn't know, let's say, that he was after an ancient weapon, but, like, he knew that he was going after something. The only person who knew was Robin, who they tapped in, like, the admirals knew kind of where Robin was, even though she was going, like, they knew where she was. Aokiji pulled up on her, like, afterwards, and, like, they know where these people are. And it's like, to have somebody as dangerous as Crocodile going out then, and it's like, there's also the fact that the entire point of Marineford is that there's one son of the Pirate King, and it's Ace, and they wanted to destroy his lineage. That was like the whole thing. Like, why wouldn't after they kidnap Crocodile, they would have known. Like there's no way that they wouldn't have known, because they knew with Ace. Why would they not do the same thing with Crocodile when they had him captured and impelled down? To just as a show.
It could have been.
I love the sky splitting right now. I'm here for it.
I just think that if they had, like, all of this knowledge about all these potential dangerous pirates and, like, things, like, it would be so easy for them to snuff out all these potentials, and, like, they just don't. So either it's like they don't know, or they're just that cocky that they think that letting these, flames basically run wild are okay. Like, I don't know. There seems like a lot of liability in letting Blackbeard go after Marineford, but they still did. Like,
They
it
tried
seemed.
to pull up on him though. Like Akainu has tried to pull up on Blackbeard multiple times, and we saw this with the Bonnie interaction. Like they were all pulling up on the island to go. Like people have been actively going after Blackbeard. It's just that they can't capture him. It's just that he has too many forces under his belt. And it was the same thing with Ace. Like they literally couldn't go after Ace because he was underneath Whitebeard. Same thing with Luffy. Like Akainu tried to kill him, but like there's so many people that are going after them. It's like there's nobody protecting Crocodile. Let's be honest. The only person protecting Crocodiles is himself. And Crocodile was not Yonko level back then. So it's not like he has the protection of that. And it's like there's just too many things. Like, do you think that they wouldn't pull up on Kaido if they knew that they could beat him? Like the only reason that Green Bull went to Wano then is because he's like, oh, okay, like these people are weakened. Maybe I can go in and get them. It's like, yeah, they're going to snuff out people who are very easy. They could have very easily sent an admiral to take out Crocodile and end the entire thing if they really wanted to. Very similarly to how Aokiji, when he first met Robin, basically didn't even care. Like he knew exactly who she was. He had a ton of history with her. It's like they can take out these people if they're very important and if they're doing something. And the thing is, Crocodile stepped out of line. Like insanely stepped out of line, was about to try to make his own a separate government. That would have been something, if he was the king of the pirates, that would have been something to look for, and that would have been something execution worthy. And it's like, why make such a big deal about Ace being the son of that? And then also the backstory with Ace, and like his backstory where they're like, oh, he had his son, like it was the sole son. It's like the only thing. He's like the child of like the worst person. Why have that if there's another person? I don't think Goldie Roger has had any other kids, because narratively, I think it dampens Marineford, because the entire point was that Ace is alone because of his lineage. If there is a sibling, that lessens it because he had a sibling. Even though he didn't know the sibling, like he wasn't alone. Like there was somebody else who shared that same pain. But Crocodile has not shown that he shared that same pain. Crocodile has had a completely different upbringing, because we know this because he wanted to become king of the pirates, unlike Ace, who didn't. Because Ace heard a ton of horrible things about his father, whereas Crocodile should have heard horrible things as well and shouldn't have admired him and should have faced some sort of backlash from that. So it's like Crocodile should have ended up very similarly to Ace and had not had the goal of Ace. And I also think that it ruins Ace as a character to have more of these things, because then, like, what's the point of his entire thing about, like, found family? Which is the ending of Ace's character, is that, like, even though he's alone because of his lineage and because of the way that he was born, he's still able to find people and he's still able to find friends. That's what I see as Ace and his character arc. So it's like, I think that there was a connection between Crocodile and Roger. I don't think that they're related, though. I think that there's too many relations in One Piece as is, but I do think that there's probably some sort of mentorship thing or savior complex that Roger did with Crocodile, and that's probably why. Because I'm assuming that Crocodile was probably bawling his eyes out because he basically idolized this man. That's what I'm thinking is happening. It's probably why he went up against Whitebeard, because he idolized the hell out of Roger. And it's like, it's probably why he then eventually gave up on his dream, because he realized that he could never reach that point. It's probably why he also hated Luffy and then came to respect Luffy for basically telling Whitebeard, like, I'm going to be king of the pirates. He probably respected the hell out of Luffy for saying that to Whitebeard's face, because it's something that he would have done. This is where I'm seeing these plot threads go. I love you, nerd. I know I'm being a little Conquerors hockey right now, but I respect the heck out of you.
No, I think that there's something. I think you're right. I think it definitely could easily be that. I just think that out of everyone that we've met, as far as like someone who is like kind of high up in the world, like he just has like a very simple name, and it's like it almost just sounds like a fake name that you would just make up to hide your real lineage, similar to like if you were to like take someone else's last name or something like that. Like, just have your name as Crocodile, like, I don't know, it brings no you don't know like his first name, last name, anything like that. It's just like it's almost like a nickname at that point. So I feel like there's something to be said about that, and it could very much well be that Crocodile just really admired Roger in that way, and that's why he saved Ace. That's why he, admired Luffy, because he was willing to do all that stuff and, and say those things to Whitebeard and be like, yeah, I'm going to be king of the pirates right in front of the person who was probably the closest to being the king of the pirates after Roger or even before Roger. It could be all those things. It just, to me, I feel like the coincidences are just a little too close. And like, there's just so much that goes into it because, yeah, I mean, he may admire Luffy, but like after you get your ass beat like that, I don't know how much I could admire someone that beat the shit out of me. So I might still be like, if they get a magma punch to the face, I might still be cool with it. So I mean, I don't know, but I think that thinking that the world government is not above completely fumbling the fucking bag like they have so many times is like really, really hard for me to believe, because they should have been, honestly, there should have been like a really great purging of like astronomical proportions when it comes to like all these characters. Like, anybody with the D in their name should have been number one on the hit list for getting taken out, especially if they are, as we think they are, about being these these people who have this will that is going to basically go against the gods themselves, and they think of themselves as gods. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like there's definitely like, I definitely get what you're saying, but I feel like maybe there's a small glimmer of hope that I might be right. And to me, I feel like it would make sense in my opinion. And I get it. Like the whole, like, the whole reason for Marineford was to show like, oh, it's like this one and only. But I don't think that takes away from that, because it was really just teaching us exactly what you said. The lesson is like, you don't have to be blood related to be family, and go as far as you possibly can for the family that you choose, not the one that you are born with, or born to. So I think that it's, I don't know. I agree. You're very well maybe right, and I'm just holding on to a little bit of copium to get me through the day. So, what about you, Larry? You've been quiet.
Yeah, listen, I've just been enjoying everything you guys have been saying. One of my favorite things to do is watch Chestnut go off, because it's not at me, and that's refreshing. So just to see it in action is pretty cool. I think you guys both made a lot of good points. I never really got the crocodile gender swap thing. I know that it's been in the works, and I did read the chapter where Ivankov meets Crocodile, and basically Ivankov says, "Long time no see, Croc boy." Luffy's like, "What? You know him?" And then Ivankov goes, "We go way back. I knew him when he was just starting out, but it's okay. We don't have to trust him. If he tries anything funny, I'll fix him. I know his weaknesses." And then Crocodile's like angry, and then he goes, but Ivankov goes, "But if you're a good boy and help us, I'll keep quiet about it. Wahoo." And then Crocodile goes, "You fiend." I mean, listen, it's possible he might have been gender swapped. He could have been like, "Yo, one of Whitebeard's crewmen was looking fine that day. I wanted to be a chick, so swap me real quick for like an hour." I mean,
Okay. That's actually a really fresh take. That like he became like a woman for a bit, and then just swapped back, and doesn't want anyone to know.
Yeah, like it's One Piece. Like like why not? I don't have much to say about Crocodile. I've never really been too fond of him. Regardless of how interesting he is. Sebastian's always really liked him because he thinks he dresses really well, and he's always been like the top tier villain of One Piece until Doflamingo and like Kaido came through. So I don't really have much to say, but he would have been born when Roger was 31. I think it's possible it could have happened, but I also agree with a lot what Chestnut said regarding like, you know, somebody would have eventually found out, or like he would have been extra sad because he would have knew that Ace was his brother and he probably would have tried to save him, possibly. I don't know. But also they were clipping kids. Like they killed like thousands to like millions of children, bro. For like 5 years, there was like how long was it? It was like a year and some change that no kids were born because they were literally taking pregnant women out of houses, beating up their husbands, and then having all of them just straight up abortion every child that they came across. Like Rouge was chilling underground with couldn't even have a flashlight. She had candle, bro, to like sit there in the dark. So listen, Sebastian said it in the chat, like even Jesus had like siblings, and like, you know, Mary and Joseph had other kids. Were they known about? Were they hunted down? Probably not. And we seen with Big Mom, she's had kids, but none of them were as dominantly willful as Ace. You know what I'm saying? There's only one specific person that has conquerors out of all her kids, and that's, you know, Katakuri. So I think people like Shanks and Roger was just planting their oats everywhere. There's probably more than a couple kids. There's probably a lot. They're pirates, you know? But me personally, I've never liked the Croco mom or gender swap of Croc at any point. But if it was to be sexually active, I think I would fuck with it a little bit more. I don't know why. It just seems like it's so unnecessary, but like it makes him more interesting because he's willing to do something like that.
Because you do that?
No.
A switch hitter.
Yeah, like he just switches up real quick and he just switches back. Like, I don't know. I've never really been a Croc fan. That's the thing too. It's like when I look at certain characters, if I'm not a fan of them, I really don't care how interesting they seem to be later on. Like they would have to be interesting then and there. So
I don't know how you don't think that one of the original Drip King before Doflamingo stepped in isn't interesting. I think he's very interesting.
You know what it was? You ever seen Austin Powers, the movie where like he puts Austin and the British girl on top of a pedestal, and then he has the sharks with lasers on top of their heads, and they're like slowly descending into the water, and then he just leaves? That's what happened in Alabasta. And I basically, and like every time that happens in like a movie or something, the people always escape. So they ended up escaping after like that. And I was like, yo, this guy's an idiot. Like, you have a Logia fruit. Just dry them all out. Suck them, bro. You've probably been sucking other people when you were gender swapped, right? So
No.
like, just do it now.
I knew he was gonna do that.
Get it over it, bro. What are we waiting for?
You thought he had the sand fruit. It was not. It was it was that Hito no Mi model Riley Reid.
Yo, you can't tell me though, like my theory isn't better though, right? Like, let's not make it so complicated. Just make him like a weirdo.
Video on that, please.
Yeah, I'd like to see that theory video.
I'd love to see that theory video.
Yeah, the way he throws it back and.
The reason that Crocodile dislikes Whitebeard is because he tried to hit that.
Well,
in this video.
Well, here's the thing too, right? So like when I was searching up like that moment where he was at Roger's execution in the anime, because I know Chestnut loves the anime.
Oh my god.
In the anime, he's not wearing an earring. Right? But in the manga, in the one shot, he's wearing an earring. My question is, I haven't seen a photo of Crocodile now, but does he wear earrings?
I think so.
He
Now you got me questioning.
I don't know if he's wearing earrings. Because in Impel Down, he's not wearing an earring either. So, I mean, he probably can't have jewelry on him while he's in jail. But even during Alabasta, I don't even remember.
So, in Alabasta, he does have an earring on his right ear.
Okay, so yeah, so that follows up with the One Piece shot. But in the anime, he doesn't have that earring. on his right ear. I mean, they show his left ear for some reason, unless that's flipped. But listen, man, shout out to Crocodile being a hoe, man. That's really what it is. I respect it.
Maybe Crocodile saw all those girls on Whitebeard and was like, "Hey, yo, I'm trying to be the main piece,"
Listen,
and then couldn't
always
get
wanted
it.
to get like that hard choo going on at least once. You know what I'm saying?
It's like I could probably deal with a Quake man in that bedroom as long as I'm a Sand Logie.
Not even
right?
that. He
I
was
can
probably
deal with
like,
that.
Oh
"Yo,
my god.
I just want to see what it's like." You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Imagine he was just like, "Yo, I just want to see what it's like for one day." You know how they always ask like dudes, like, "What would you do if you were a chick for like one day?" And then the guy is always like, "I'd let all my homies hit." I'm sorry, Chestnut. But that was cool.
God.
That's funny, bro.
Make a TikTok about that. This is the best crocodile theory you've heard in your life.
Yo, that would
get ready.
That would get me canceled for sure. Somehow, yo.
Nah,
Somebody
they
be
would
like,
call
"That is so
they would call you
transphobic. You're so transphobic."
they would call you an equality master.
Oh.
But there is one other cover story that I think is interesting, and then there's also like when they show the warlords as kids, Crocodiles just kind of looks like he might be a girl or a boy, so it's like kind of leaving everything kind of up to speculation.
Yeah.
Because like we get to see like, you know, Kuma walking with like a book in his hand, and Moria has like a little doll. Mihawk has a sword, and like Crocodiles is very much genderless. It feels like.
You know why I wouldn't want this to happen? Because of what happened with Yamato. Yamato was such a cancer to the series overall because of her indecisiveness to choose who she thought she actually was. That it split the community, but it also made fans hate Wano to a degree because of all the indecisiveness that was within her character. Even though her character was so loved, it was equally as hated. Now, if we brought that aspect back into One Piece with a character like Crocodile who people actually love and put them on tier list and such, oh my god, bro. I wouldn't want to get into that atmosphere again.
The worst part about Yamato though was that in every Japanese or media, it always used feminine pronouns, and then it was the only time that they used masculine, like kind of, is in the manga, because like Yamato used boku, which is usually a polite male speech, but also masculine women have used boku before, so it's like it was very ambiguous in the Japanese, and like because I went to like Japanese forums because I was like, all right, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this and see every single usage of Yamato in Japanese forums, and I went through and I translated it. They always used like she, her pronouns for Yamato. The only people who didn't was in like the anime and the manga. Like that was the only thing. Everything outside that did that, and it was like that was the worst thing. It's like basically like who do you believe? Do you believe Oda, who used like she, her pronouns, or do you believe Oda in the manga? Like, do you believe outside Oda or inside Oda? And it was like, okay. Or like, do you believe Toei, and do you believe everybody who's marketing and all of the Japanese audiences, or do you believe the manga?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, are we just not understanding something with translation? And it's like, you're right. Honestly, the translation shit is so like the Hiyori scene, where like a simple translation made her one of the most hated characters. For like
she was like you know, that guy in World War II for a second.
Bruh. And then it was like they had to translate it like differently to like make it so it like was actually how it is. Japanese is just a very weird language, and it's like even though things are gendered, it's like it's just so very weird. So I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen with Crocodile.
Yo, but it's like a possibility, you know, like it comes close enough. It comes close enough.
I would also like to just like direct your attention if you look at the cover story of 938, it shows birds sunbathing in crocodile sand, and the title of the chapter seems to coincide with the actual cover story, and the name of the chapter is A Woman's Secret. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, but those are also fan requests, and he does fan request pages. So I mean, could he have chosen that? Sure, but like,
It seems a little coincidental.
does it though? Because there's also been other like here's my thing, right? Like, yes, Oda is a mastermind with some of that stuff, but like, you can't like the all of those fan request ones are just weird, and it's like everybody always tries to find like certain things in the fan request ones, and unless Oda is just drawing like a cover page, like that's just what fans wanted, and they just show. He's like, all right, I'll draw this one.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
like
funny as hell. You know what's funnier? I would have believed this if it was butterflies, because you know how they always say like chicks get butterflies and stuff like that. Like I would have been like, all right, maybe you got something.
I'm gonna be honest. Like I think that the Crocomom theory and the Croc theory is very similar to what we thought with the Vegapunk Devil Fruit. And we had these gigantic theories about Momo's Devil Fruit and why it was a failure. Like I had huge theories, and it was like it was the wrong color.
It very much could be like a huge misdirect that's lasted like 500 to 600 plus chapters just for it to be something mad stupid. Like
I guarantee you, it's probably gonna be something mad stupid. And we're gonna look back on this. We're gonna be like, no.
I'll say this though, until Crocodile is confirmed to be a actual she, like for example, like let's say like he did change genders, but like Oda never said exactly which gender this person biologically was. I just keep calling Crocodile like a he, because that's what I know him as.
I mean, I would assume that would probably stay the same unless he's back. Oh my god.
I just can't hop on board with it. Like
maybe Croc will turn
want...
back to a woman to try and get a crack at Mihawk now that they're in the same guild.
Listen, bro, if you said Moria was a woman, I'd believe it, bro. Like full blown.
Ugly, tbh. I don't know if you've looked at that cover story. Like Flamingo was pretty attractive. Honestly, the Jinbei one looked good. I actually like Jinbei as a woman, but
yeah.
I don't know, man. I liked Boa as a man too. That one was pretty good. But yeah,
I do think that if not in the chapter 0, like the basically showing all of the people that are that were in at the execution, there is a part where it shows on a certain area, it shows like all the people that were at the funeral, and you have Buggy, Crocodile, Mihawk, and then you also have Doflamingo and Moria all on the same like part of the page, just like in a row. And to me, I feel like that's foreshadowing to the fact that they might all just be the Cross Guild eventually. Because I definitely think Doflamingo's joining. But to honestly have Moria somehow have escaped from Blackbeard and not killed, and then join the Cross Guild as his opposition because of all the stuff that had happened, I would actually like that. Plus, I need Doflamingo and Crocodile on the same team.
that would be fun. I would enjoy seeing that.
Yeah, that would be cool too.
Especially since what happened at Marineford and stuff.
Yeah, but it would never happen because Doflamingo would never let Buggy be above him, bro.
I don't know, man.
I don't think Crocodile and Mihawk think that either. They're literally just using him.
We're talking about Mihawk and Crocodile. Like, come on, bro. Dofi's of a different breed. Y'all gotta realize Dofi is a real one, bro.
Dofi got broke, dude. Like, every person that Luffy fucking dicks down is definitely, like, their will is broken most of the time. And I think that Doflamingo is no exception to the rule.
Nah. Listen to me. It's the reason why he's a conqueror, dog. All right? He's not Moria. He's not going to get fat and just sit in the jail cell. Right now, as we're speaking, he's doing push-ups. All right? With sea stone cuffs. All right, we seen what happens when you train with these stone cups. In 2 weeks, you could just start fighting a Yonko. He's been in there for a couple weeks, yo. He gonna come out like Frieza. Watch.
I thought you were gonna say he's gonna come out like Iroh, like in there just like doing sit-ups and stuff like that. Buffle man.
Listen, man. Dofi. Listen, Dofi's still the best villain in the series. Don't get it twisted. Still the best. So we gonna see, man. He's still in his prime. Listen. If there's anybody that needs to come back, it's Dofi. Celestial dragon ties, ancient weapon knowledge. Yo, the fact that like he probably knows who M is. Like, yo, bro, there's so much, man. Also, the ties that he has to the underworld still. Like, yo, there's nobody better than Dofi in the series. But I will say this. I do want to shout out, since we talking about Chapter 0. Yo, we need some more respect on Shiki's name, man.
I agree.
Shiki a real one, bro.
I agree.
Like, I don't think... This is the question. Do y'all think that there's going to be anybody that Luffy has faced enemy-wise, if he was to get executed, like if he was about to get executed the next day, that would show up to Marineford and be like, yo, you can't tarnish his legacy because he's that great? I want to take him out.
Bartolomeo?
Nah.
In a way.
Ain't no way, bro.
I mean, he's a big fanboy, a huge D rider. Like, he can't even speak in his presence.
Yo,
he's
but that's
that crazy.
He's part of his clique, though. I'm talking about like one of his enemies. Like his sworn enemies. You know what I'm saying?
It's like a sworn enemy who literally would be like, nah, I'm gonna help you so that I can beat your ass.
Yeah. Yo,
Like,
Luffy don't got that riz, bro.
I don't know. I mean, not super canon, but I would say that if Stampede was canon, I would say that Bullet would be that person, or Kaido. Yeah, Shin in the comments saying Kaido.
Yo, Kaido dead for all we know.
Kaido ain't dead. We know that.
You think people die in One Piece? You're kidding yourself.
Yeah. Come on, man. If Pell made it.
Yo, Pedro out there, bro. I'm telling you.
No.
Yo, Pedro out there, bro.
No.
I'm telling you, he out
that
there.
cover story where everybody thought that she was Pedro. I was shaking in my boots. I was like, no. Ended up being Aokiji. And I was like, thank God. But that almost got me. I was like, oh my God. Nah. Ain't no way.
I'd be so mad if Pedro came back. That would be like to the extent of me being like, I don't know if I could keep reading. That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they saying Kid an ally, bro. He don't want the sauce with Luffy, bro.
Kid'll probably get the sauce once they get to Elbaf, and then he won't want it anymore.
Listen, bro. Shiki, the first one to break out of Impel Down. He fought Prime, Garp, and Sengoku. Destroyed half of Marineford. By the way, there was no ships in the air, so that means that he had to go and touch a ship. You know what I'm saying? Like, the dude, like, Marines had to stand to the side and watch them, like, bang out. You know what I mean? Like, yo, Shiki is such a real-ass dude, bro. Like, tell one person between the both of you. Can you name an admiral that has ever taken off their coat in order to fight somebody?
I think so. I don't know.
Nobody. No, it was still draped over him.
Nah.
When Sengoku turned back from Buddha form, he still had it draped over his shoulders, but he was showing out.
Listen. Garp and Sengoku had to take their jackets off, bro. First time in the series. And Garp had to loosen up his tie. Yo, Shiki that boy, man.
Oh, actually, you know what? When we get to see Garp, when we get that small little view of Garp, after fighting in God Valley when he's covered in blood, he doesn't have his jacket on.
That he took it off for rocks. Honestly, compared Shiki to rocks, like that, the respect on Shiki's.
Yo, I'm telling you, Shiki. The only devil fruit that can actually work with water. Dude was lifting islands and had water, and the water wouldn't fall down. Yo, come on, man! Like, Shiki's that guy, bro. He don't get enough respect. It's truly sad. It's sad.
Well, he got done dirty by being put in a movie that just like had Luffy beat him.
Like we be talking about like people who lose limbs, right? Like Shanks sacrificed his limb, right? Kid got his arm taken off. People be like, yo, he got it taken off. He's gone through a lot. Yo, Shiki took off his own legs, bro, and then he put swords on them so he could fight people, and then escape from Impel Down. No plot.
Zeph also
You know
took
what I'm
off a
saying?
leg
Yo, bro.
to save Sanji.
Not like how Shiki did. This man had chains, cut the chains off, just cut his whole leg. I was like, I don't need the legs. I don't need them.
Put it this way. Yo, Zeph took off his leg and he was still considered a threat. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't do anything else after that. He said, yo, my pirating career is over. Shiki was like, fuck that. I'm out here, bro. He was like, yo, I'm gonna hit up Whitebeard and I'm gonna see if you want to team up, yo. What's good? Like, yo, he was really about that. He was a Yonko, bro. I'm telling you. The Yonko of the previous era were like after Rocks went away, it was Roger, Whitebeard, Shiki, and then you can name whoever else you want, bro. But Shiki was built different, for sure. That's my boy Shiki. I always get hyped when I talk about Shiki because I like him a lot. He had the whole dance in the movie and shit. It's so dope, bro.
When the Road to Laugh Tale came out and they were giving us like information on Shiki along with Big Mom and Kaido, I got very excited because I thought that Shiki could be the lurking legend. I still think Shiki might make an appearance in the story.
I hope so.
I think
Like
you're right.
I think that he's going to make an appearance because I do genuinely think that Blackbeard was going after Rocks pirates, and I think he's gonna show back up and just start wrecking shit. Like I thought at some point he could be that like hidden 12th or like whatever captain that Blackbeard had, and maybe that Blackbeard just like offered him like, yo, like you'd have this ability to kill like this person, or like if Garp ever came to me. Could you imagine if Garp pulls up and all of a sudden Shiki walks out and was like, I've been waiting for this moment. Just wreck this shit.
Yo, it's like, come on, man. Like, he was called the Golden Lion, yo. You know how hard that name goes?
Dude.
Mihawk don't even got a name. He just called Mihawk.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's Hawkeye and Mihawk. But
that's his whole name.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
I mean, the Golden Lion Shiki. Honestly, with all of the information that we were getting on like the Rocks pirates and stuff, you know what would be really cool? And what could actually happen, considering, so you know how like Shiki's design, he has like kind of like the weird stuff on his shoulders. What if the snail that Vegapunk called was actually Shiki, and Shiki just comes out and starts like fucking shit up on Egghead? Like he was just like waiting for a bunch of admirals to come out.
Yeah. That would be cool too. You know what it is too? It's like there's so many great characters that their time has passed. And I feel like that's possible. Like there's so many characters that their time has passed. I think we're truly in the new era. It's shown. I would love, if there's not a One Piece after One Piece is over, I need there to be like a pre-One Piece where we see the Rocks and Roger era. I think that One Piece can still continue, but it has to be during those parts because they're already set up. They're already somewhat fleshed out. We just need to see them. But like, bro, imagine seeing all these legends just go at it. Like, bro, we can actually know who the previous sword title, the greatest swordsman was back then. So we know who Mihawk probably took it from, because at this point, there's only like 3 swordsmen in the whole world. So it's like, yo, we need to find something out, bro. Yo, go into the 800-year void, like, fuck it, bro. Why not?
Nah,
I'm telling you.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think that there's just so much that goes into One Piece as a whole, and like the history and lore, that it's like, even once the actual One Piece ends, we could learn so much from like, you know, Joy, like seeing Joy Boy and like how Joy Boy felt, if it's not like super elaborated on in the story, which it might be because of, you know, I think Emu is definitely like been around since the Void Century, so I mean we might get that information. But even still, like, you know, I'd love to see Roger's actual start. I would love to see Rocks somehow tame all these conquerors underneath him. You know, I would love to see Garp in his prime doing all this stuff and turning down promotions.
Yeah.
Like, Like, you know, everyone's telling him like, yo, you should be fleet admiral, you should be fleet admiral. He's like, nah, fuck that. He's like, I want freedom. He's like, I just want to be able to do what I want, you know.
Yeah.
A prequel to One Piece would be very cool. That honestly, I actually, cause we had like a debate night in my Discord, link in bio, about this the other day. But like, Boruto would have been so much better instead in like Naruto if they just did a prequel about like some of the cool stuff that they like. Everybody wants to see what happened during the first and second Great Ninja War.
Yep.
Why we keep going? Because like when you go into the future, things just get stronger and stronger, and eventually, like, you know what I mean? You just get this weird power cap. But if you go back in time, like,
You do
like
so
we
much.
yeah, there, especially with Roger and stuff, like seeing how he got his start, seeing like all the stuff, like when he found Shanks on God Valley, like having an entire dedicated manga to God Valley and the God Valley incident would be insane. Would be incredible. Like even if they show some stuff in the actual thing, like people would still go not so crazy for it.
But I always say it this way, right? Like, Rox, his real name is Zebek. We just call him Rox, but Rox is his actual last name. Zebek, there has been nobody else that has had 4 conquerors, well, 3 conquerors on their ship, and he was able to, like, maintain it and almost conquer the world with them, right? Those same 3 people were the focus points of this era. There's nobody in Luffy's era right now that I can say would have that same effect on the world if he just passed away and they came to power. Nobody. There's nobody.
I would
Blackbeard
say
would be the closest, but like even like let's say like Blackbeard's not there or like Shanks is not there. You know what I'm saying? Like there's nobody else in Luffy's era or generation that can be at those levels because they set such a high standard. Like they're just that legendary and that great, and they have that much status and that much focus and that much power, military hope and dreams and just like there's just so much behind those 3 people. And like this is what makes Rox so interesting to me. Like he might be another Buggy for all we know, but this is why Rox is so different. Because he was called the greatest taboo. Everywhere he went, there was a storm. He pillaged. He did all these things, and he lived life freely. He might be the closest person to Luffy that we've ever seen in the series. It might not even be Roger. Because if we look at Luffy, he also attacks the world's greatest taboos. So it's like, if we think about it, like the dude is he's the smallest person on his crew. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo,
you just
Rox
did exactly what I said last time we had this theory know me.
Yo, like,
I said
bruh.
Rox's crew is going to almost mirror the way that Luffy's crew is end of series, guaranteed. I feel like that is exactly what we're heading to. And like the fact that like there are so many people that say like, oh, there's infighting in the rocks and stuff like that. It's like there's infighting in Luffy's crew all the time between like Sanji, Nami, and Zoro. Like, and that could be blown out of proportion by who we're getting the information from, right? Like the world government being like, oh, there was infighting. It's like there's infighting all the time. You see the way the Nami caged Luffy the minute they fucking left Wano, and like, you know, like they literally have infighting. It's just not actual like serious infighting like that. But if you were someone looking from the outside in, you'd be like, yo man, those guys don't even get along like that. But they do. Like that's why I think that you're right. I think that there's more conquerors on Rox's crew, and I think that there will be more confirmed conquerors on Luffy's crew because I think that they will mirror like that.
No.
No.
If Yamato joined, then yeah. But since she didn't join, no. Because Sanji not getting it, bro. 1. Nami's not gonna get it. Usopp's definitely not gonna get it for all those Usopp lovers out there. And Jinbei is probably the closest after Zoro. So he would only have 2 people under him that would have it.
So
he would still need that one more.
I definitely think Nami has it.
But the thing is too,
it's a trope, but it's a trope that's real.
Listen. The thing too is that Zoro in Jinbei will never be as strong as Kaido or Big Mom or Whitebeard. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the level that we're talking. Like, I can't even see those 3 people doing the such things as those individuals, because they're just monsters from the go, and then they have everything else after that. And that's why like that crew is so interesting, bro. Like, and a piece of me wants to see more of that crew more than I want to see Roger's adventures.
I agree with that. It's a very unknown thing that we don't have like any, like we see all the monsters that spawned out of it. And maybe we would see that if Luffy actually died like Rox did, and then it would spur on those people that were left in his crew to go on to do these things to make them there. Like, you know, like we got to see like if Rox truly died and Luffy truly died, would Zoro step up and try and take over? Because like at one point he even said to Luffy, like, if you're not willing to do these things, you know, I'll take over as captain. Like showing that he has that conqueror's mind state to be able to do that sort of thing. And I think Jinbei already has conqueror's haki. I think from him punching Who's Who in the face, like there was Black Lightning there. I think that to me, that seems like it. And even though it was a trope, the fact that Black Lightning came off of Nami, and who was the one who noticed it, right? Jinbei. Who noticed it when it was coming from Shanks? He was like, damn, that Conqueror's haki. Like, people who have Conqueror's haki are usually the first one to notice the Conqueror's haki and state it as such, and Jinbei did that twice.
Nah, we can't say that, because then King would have it.
Nami definitely has Conqueror's haki. In fact, let me scale her to planetary very quickly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Nami's happiness punch was canonically stated to be twice as strong as Luffy's, right? As we know, Luffy's Conqueror's haki has just gotten exponential, and throughout these fights, like Nami has had multiple battles. Therefore, her Conqueror's haki has improved very similarly along with Luffy's. Considering happiness punch in Wano, they quite literally called her a national treasure, and she barely even did anything. Now imagine a happiness punch infused with Conqueror's haki.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, could very much destroy half of the planet. So I would say that Nami is definitely planetary, especially with her Conqueror's haki, happiness punch. We can also scale her above Luffy, considering that she was able to get Luffy into a cage and injure Luffy. Therefore, she's above the Yonko level at this point. So
yeah, I mean, Chestnut's never wrong. So
that's right, especially with my Nami takes.
Yeah, I have to agree.
I truly want Nami to get Big Mom's fruit. I want Big Mom to die in a spectacular way, in which she has to pass on her soul fruit, and I want her to give it to Nami, to be honest. But that's all headcanon coming from a different planet than we're actually on.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see. Yeah. Honestly.
But all right, well, I hate to do this, but I do have to wrap up, and I'm sure that you guys have other things to do. You guys have like a watch party tonight, don't you?
I have no idea. Probably.
Yeah, I have no idea. Do we?
I think Hime was gonna do something. I think they're like waiting in there for the stream to be over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So I might be holding you guys up, but I've had an amazing time, and I appreciate you guys both coming through. And for anybody watching that hasn't already followed them on every single form of social media and followed it went in both of their Discords, then you guys are wrong, and therefore you need to correct yourself immediately. And make sure to go watch all their theory videos, all their TikToks, like them all, comment on them all. Do everything that you possibly can. Strauss said, shout out Dave Chappelle. But
it up, P.
Yo, you better wrap that gavel up. But no, I really appreciate you guys doing this. This has been amazing. I love having you both here. You guys make the One Piece community much better, and I appreciate you.
Oh, I don't, bro. I make it worse. She makes it better. I make it worse. I make it worse, for sure.
I think you trying to make it worse actually makes it better, because everybody just rallies against you. It's perfect.
Yeah. I have the opposite power of Luffy. That's what it is.
You rally people.
It's like
Yeah,
it's like
I ally
you're-
everybody against me instead of them allying with me. That's
Oh
that's
my
my
God.
specialty.
you're not the hero we need. You're the hero we deserve.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is.
It's funny
Yo,
as hell.
but yo, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate the invite. You know, I love seeing it. I wish you much success on this channel too.
Yeah,
Just
the
keep
same.
going,
Same.
keep being consistent, and that's really what it is, man. You know, but start posting shorts on YouTube because they're gonna start paying out bread after 1,000 subs. And you know, if you ever check out Doran's World, the dude is almost at 200K subs, and he started out like last year, and his shorts blew up on YouTube, so he's gonna get paid pretty good. So, for you two, stop doing those TikTok things. Do TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and
Okay.
watch everything just explode. So that's my advice.
Yeah.
But thank you, man.
I'll definitely be uploading those. I have a whole folder that I just need to
Yeah.
actually take the time to do.
Everything you guys did on TikTok, just literally save the video, post it on Shorts. That's
Yeah,
literally what I'm telling you.
That.
Yeah,
I have mine auto saved, so every time I post, it automatically goes into a folder, and then I can just upload it on like other platforms.
do it.
So
Get yourselves out there.
Oh shoot! You should show me how to do that at some point, nerd. Because I don't have that.
Oh really? Oh yeah, I have it set up every time I post. It's like in a folder in my phone, and then I have an Android, so I just plug it right into my computer and just drag it over, and then I can upload it on Instagram Reels and other stuff like that.
Definitely have to show me how to do that sometime. I'm super tech illiterate, so I need help.
I mean, you're better than me. And also, shout out to Chestnut for making the amazing thumbnail for this video as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on again. I super love these. I feel like we always go off with these theories. I'm sorry for my conkers getting a little too much with your conkers.
No, I see. Here's the thing: we get into our echo chambers and we start saying these things, and we convince ourselves of it. But it's great to have like someone who is able to bring us back to reality when we get a little too far off track. So I appreciate your immense honesty and conkers hockey in putting me in check.
Oh god.
But I really do. Strahd, shut the fuck up. I have an Android because it's better than Apple.
Oh my god.
But still, I appreciate you guys coming through. It's gonna be a little bit harder to do these things probably in like a week or so when I'm like 8 hours ahead. But hopefully I can still manage to sometimes get you guys together for something like this, or just even to call into TOPT to kind of ask a good question or two sometimes.
Yeah, definitely, bro.
Of course.
But thank you, Ragnar. It is better. But I appreciate you guys, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. And I will hopefully be more active in the Discord here and there when I get the chance.
All right.
So, all right.
Peace out, guys.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Later, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.